Hello there, collectors, hobbyists, sports enthusiasts, and those who enjoy the finer things in life. Thank you for enjoying us. Tony, I know you're one of those. I'm Mike Provenzale, the production manager at Heritage Sports, and on my right is the most gregarious, most huggable member of the hobby, Mr. Tony Giese. Tony, how are you doing?
Always great, but tonight's a special night.
It is.
You know, this is going to be so much fun watching the bids come in, and I can't wait. And we have a nice assortment right off the bat of some of the highlights. I'm a little nervous being this close to these cards.
8 million in trading cards.
Yeah, no pressure on us
right
at all.
In the front of the table, which is why I made you put your juice on the ground.
Beef jerky.
Beef jerky to the side. Very exciting night. Tonight, session 1 of our Winter Platinum Night auction closes, which is the first 135 lots. Session 2 will close tomorrow night in the same format. So you have 2 hours until 10 p.m. Central Time to get your bids in for session 1 before extended bidding begins. We're going to take you through some of our favorite items in the auction, things that are moving up the bid board, things that might need a little more attention, some interesting, unique items, and we're going to take you right through extended bidding. We'll talk about items in tonight's session 1 and tomorrow's session 2 as well, where we got some incredible collections headlined by the James Harrison collection.
Yeah, that's an unbelievable collection from him, and we actually brought him in here, and he was
in this room not long ago.
He was in this room, and he is very intense at everything he does, but just a great guy to work with.
Exactly what you'd expect him to be.
Yeah.
He totally delivers.
Yes,
great guy, very
absolutely.
fun. He made fun of our VP, Derek Grady, a lot, which is great. Put him in his place. I know a lot of people out there enjoy that. But right off the top, we've got a very special guest. Recently joined Heritage last year, Mr. Joe Orlando, our new executive vice president, one of the most knowledgeable, most beloved people in the hobby. Joe, how are you doing?
It's great to be here, guys.
Thanks for joining us. That's quite the pad you have there. Well decorated. I like your taste.
Yeah, I'm in the Heritage Panic Room right now.
A place that me and Tony do not have access to.
No.
We have to do our panicking at our desks. So big night tonight. Joe, in general, what do you think about the closing tonight?
It looks like there's been a lot of activity actually over the last few hours. So it's shaping up for an exciting finish, that's for sure.
Yeah, and you are one of the most knowledgeable people in the industry, so everyone's always very eager to hear what you have to say and what's caught your eye. What are some of the items that you're eager to see tonight?
Well, I mean, let's start with the M116 PSA 8 Ty Cobb. That card, it's really interesting. Collectors, one of the things I think we like to do is look for cards or collectibles that haven't had their moment in the sun yet. And I think this kind of fits that description. And what I mean by that is that this card in this grade has not come available publicly in over 20 years. So it's been quite a long time since collectors have had an opportunity to acquire a card of this quality.
Beautiful example. And like you said, very underappreciated.
Yeah, it's really perplexing, to be honest. So the M116 Sporting Life issue, I mean, let's kind of go through the details here. The set was roughly about 300 cards. Sporting Life was the primary competitor to the Sporting News. So it's not some regional or esoteric issue. This was a major issue. It contains basically all the major stars that you'd want to see. Wagner, Johnson, Mathewson, Young, Speaker, and of course Cobb. And I think it may be one of those situations where the set is so tough that some of these, especially in higher grade, that some people have given up before they even start, if that makes sense. If you look at the population reports, both at PSA and SGC for this issue, and compare it to classic issues such as T206, I mean, there are a fraction of the cards in the pop report compared to some of those issues. In this particular case, so there's two different variations of the Cobb. You have the blue background, and then you have the pastel background. And what is really interesting is for those familiar with it, they'll understand what I'm talking about. If you're not familiar with it, what I would suggest is looking in our archive. We've sold many pastel variations of different players over the years. The blue background just has a lot more, in my opinion, eye appeal, because you get that contrast between that bluish green background and the portrait, which is of course, people, I'm sure they recognize it. It's the same Carl Horner portrait that was used for T206 for the red portrait and the green portrait, Ty Cobb. But because it has that colorful background, it really makes the portrait of Cobb pop. So if you're comparing the pastels to the blues, most collectors feel that the blue backgrounds just have superior eye appeal. And in addition to that, the blue backgrounds are tougher. Again, if you look at the pop reports, you'll see that the blue backgrounds of really all the players are far more scarce than the pastels. So it offers scarcity overall. It's a beautiful looking card. And again, I think it's an issue that just really hasn't had its day yet. And I think that's exciting for collectors.
And that T206 issue is one of the most well-known, most popular issues, the Cobbs, one of the most popular entries in it. And the Cobb portraits, there's over 1,000 in the PSA pop. So as you said, a huge difference from this one. It's a really select and hard to come by card.
Yeah, I mean, again, it's like, you think about, as collectors, you think about, opportunities that come available. And if you want a high grade copy of this card, especially in the PSA 8 grade, there are two, and the last one that came up publicly was over 20 years ago. If you want this card in this grade, it's sort of like, look, now's the opportunity. And I think, again, the more collectors look into this card, they research it, they understand the issue, I think the more they'll fall in love with it. Now, one thing that's kind of interesting, just to provide some more background on the issue itself, is that originally these cards, so they were issued in envelopes in 12 card little bricks, or in series of 12 cards each. And there were about 24 or so series in the issue. Originally, the Sporting Life was planning on just inserting these envelopes into issues of their publication and give them away to people who bought the publication. And then they found out later, apparently the Postal Service said, no, you can't do that. It's actually in violation of the law. So then they had to require people to send away for the cards. And I think that's at least partially responsible for the scarcity, because it required action on behalf of individuals. You had to actually send away for them instead of just receiving them as part of the publication. That extra, sort of layer of action probably reduced the amount of cards that made it into circulation.
Just like the 33 Gaudy Lajoie, you actually had to get a stamp, mail something out, get it back, and then it had to return to you. That could be a factor in the condition as well, at traveling through the mail in any format.
That's correct. Now, there was I would say a relatively small find of M116s about 20 years ago. It was called the Philly find, although there were no super high grade Cobbs that were part of that find, as I recall. So there are some high grade copies out there because of these sort of these series of 12. But overall, as you've mentioned, as I've talked about, they're really tough in any grade. They just weren't distributed in anywhere near the numbers of some of the more classic issues of the period.
And Cobb's one of the most popular figures for collectors, and this is one that really can give you bragging rights, because a lot of people have certain Cobb issues, the T206, of course, and some of his later issues, but unlikely you're going to run into someone that even has one of these if you're at a show or just showing off your collection.
That's right. And I think collectors have changed their behavior a little bit as it relates to showpieces like this M116 Cobb. In the past, I think people were more closely sort of driven or tied to whether or not the set was popular. So, for example, look, a great example is the Ruth rookie that we have in our sale, the 1916 Ruth rookie. That set isn't incredibly popular as a set, But of course, who doesn't want to own a Ruth rookie? I think the same thing is true here. This is Cobb. Cobb was during his, playing days, there was no question who the main attraction was. It was Ty Cobb. And so Ty Cobb is the centerpiece of any set he appeared in during the period. So even if you have no interest in collecting the set or attempting to collect this difficult set, why not add this incredible showpiece to your collection?
And what we've talked about a lot is when the hobby's exploded in the last few years, we've had a lot of new people come into the industry or return to the industry, and they've kind of changed the thinking too. They don't always align with what the common thinking was and what hobby history has said, which was T206 Cobb is one of the best cards, one of the best Cobb cards. You have to get it. But we've seen those people kind of put a lot of money into things that had been overlooked or not looked at all, just because they're bringing new thoughts as far as investment and thinking outside the box. So this is a good example for someone who maybe doesn't have a huge collection, could end up getting this because it's so rare.
No, absolutely. I think those are great points.
Yeah, beautiful example. Great call.
20 years too, since the last one is sold. That's amazing to me, especially in that kind of grade too.
Especially in these last few years when so many new things with the money's been so high, you've seen a lot of things that haven't come out often or at all finally enter the marketplace. And it's still taken several years for this example to pop up. So excited to see what that one does tonight. Joe, you are one of the foremost experts in the world on game-used bats. So I know you have some gems picked out, and there's some amazing examples in the auction. Which one caught your eye?
Yeah, there's just a few. Just to be honest. We'll limit this conversation to 3, but there's definitely more than 3. But let's start with the 1960 Ted Williams bat, if we can. So,
beautiful one.
Yeah, first of all, I think in the game used world, sometimes there's a reluctance to pursue jerseys and bats that are used at the end of a player's career, because in many cases, athletes become a shell of themselves towards the end of their career. But let me just throw some statistics at you guys about Ted Williams in 1960. He slugged around 650. His on-base percentage was around 450. He hit 29 home runs, I think, and around 310 at-bats. He was still Ted Williams in his very last season. Now, he didn't play a full year, but his numbers while he was playing, he still had it. And so he decided to walk away from the game. And of course, he has the most famous, I think, walk-off ever, because he literally walked off, in his career. It's like, I'm hitting a home run. That's it. I'm done. But
didn't even acknowledge the fans with the tip of the cap.
He just walked in. I'm done. I'm rounding the bases. I'm
very on brand. Very on brand. For
right.
him.
At least he was consistent. But I mean, he absolutely still had it, and I think that makes this quite different for those who do hesitate in that regard. So let's talk about the bat itself. The bat, I mean, it checks every box. The bat is absolutely pounded with use on the label downside, which is what you want to see from Williams. The 9 on the knob is a style. There are a few different styles that you see, from the late 40s to the end of his career. One of them is like this, where it has kind of a hook at the bottom of the 9, but we've seen a few examples like that. So it's got his 9 on the knob underlined the way it should be. It has remnants of the gripping substance he used across the handle. And on top of everything else, it comes with provenance from at the time, it was a young man who won a contest to become the bat boy for the visiting team for the Chicago White Sox. And he acquired that bat during that, after winning that contest and becoming the bat boy. He acquired this Williams bat, and he is the consigner of the bat. So it's direct provenance from that. You see his picture there, from that young man in the newspaper article there. The bat has extraordinary Williams characteristics, very, very strong use. And it just looks great. It looks, it has that battle scarred look, but the preservation at the same time is outstanding. So it really does, check all the relevant boxes that that bat collectors like to see.
And that is a great story. We'd love it. That's one of the most popular things in the industry when it has a great backstory, got it directly from the athlete. They've had it their whole lives and they're ready to bring it into the hobby. And like you said, he had one of the best final MLB seasons in baseball history. And then this game was at the very end of that season as well. So when you're talking about bookends for something collectors really like, this is one of the latest Williams bats known.
Yeah, and as they say, he did not fall off the cliff.
No,
he was
definitely not.
Ted Williams to his last swing, and I think again it makes his situation unique in that way.
And I was looking at it when we had it on display in our gallery. You're right. I mean, it's battered to hell essentially. Like it went through the paces. It's something that even a layman can look at it and know that this is what game use is supposed to look like.
Yeah, there are embedded stitch marks, stitch impressions all over the hitting zone. I mean, it was a very well used bat that was taken out of play after it experienced that, was cracked in game use. But to have that direct provenance from this former bat boy is just the icing on the cake.
Yeah, you got to love imagining his thrill to
bring that home.
Williams was still one of the biggest stars in the league, and since it was the end of his career, already a legend. You knew he was going to the Hall of Fame. He was the greatest hitter ever. Just thinking about that kid taking it home in the train or whatever. Love that one.
Yeah, and the fact that he kept it all of these years, I mean, it shows you what it meant to him. So that's to have something like this that is literally fresh to the market is also. I know collectors, love that when something's been buried for a long time and it finally makes it to market. And this is the first opportunity collectors have to acquire it. So it's just a really, really terrific piece.
And a lot of times when we see that, something that's never been available and somebody wins it, especially a high dollar item like this, it's disappearing into their collection
for a long time.
That's right.
It's not coming back around next year.
Right. This is what we all call a keeper for sure. Yeah.
What other bats caught your fancy?
Yeah, so the next one on the list is a 1970 to 72 Willie Mays gamer. Heritage in the past has had the honor of representing many different Willie Mays gamers, and I think what really makes this Willie Mays gamer a standout is that look, and you see that pine tar pattern. From that extends basically from the lower handle up towards the center brand and beyond. That was Willie's signature from right around the mid 1960s to the end of his career with the Mets in 1973. That's the pattern you want to see on a really well used Willie Mays bat, which this is. Now, unlike Williams, who was more of a precision hitter and very consistent about hitting with the label facing down, Mays is what bat collectors refer to as a grip and rip guy. So even though most of the ball marks and stitch impressions are on the left barrel, which is a label up, there's also use on the other side of the barrel, which again is consistent for Mays because Mays wasn't necessarily a label up or label down guy all the time. Again, some people refer to it as grip and rip, but the use is terrific on this bat to go along with the 24 on the knob. And it is a style that is known for that period from kind of that late 60s, early 70s period. It's one that you see on other bats. In addition to that, it has several green bat rack marks from the dugout, which really places it in San Francisco. Now, technically being 70 to 72, it crosses over into the Mets sort of era, but it has, it's sort of, when you're thinking about probabilities, it's likely a San Francisco bat because of the period, because of the green bat rack streaks. But it really is a terrific bat. And what's interesting about Mays is one of those players where bats from the second half of his career actually have a lot more character generally than ones used earlier because he wasn't a prolific or a consistent pine tar user earlier in his career. It wasn't really a thing throughout the league, but certainly with Mays, he wasn't using large amounts of pine tar in the 50s, for example. You see some examples with bits of tar on it, but it's those mid 60s to late career that just have that X factor. And that's one of the things that bat collectors love. You see that bat in a rack or on the wall on display, and it just, it exudes game use.
The paint transfer from the bat racks is one of my favorite things in the industry. That little nugget of information. If you ever get to chance to talk to John Tobby, he knows all the colors and the bat racks for all these teams throughout the era. That is such a great note.
Yeah, John is the best. He's the best in the business.
Tony, you seem like a grip it and rip it guy.
The one John Tobby store I had, I think we were at a show in Philadelphia, and he had Buster Posey bats, and he's looking at the bats and he sees gold marks. He goes, "Look at that! That's a World Series bat," and he had them all sold by the end of the show. But yeah, John he's a fun guy because he always gets back to you, and he is just a wealth of knowledge. He is just like Joe.
Yeah, indeed.
You guys are too kind.
It's in our contract to say that.
I knew it.
Stipulated by your signing, I believe. One more bat on your list, and I'm interested in this one.
This one I'll probably talk about. You'll have to have Heritage Security come in here and taser me to get me to shut up about Frank Robinson.
That's good content.
The floor is yours.
Let's talk about. So first, let's talk about Frank Robinson. Okay. I mean, as a player, for me, you could make an argument for a lot of different players throughout history. I think Frank Robinson is the most underrated player in baseball history. He was every bit the player of Mays and Aaron and Clemente in his prime. Rookie of the Year, MVP in both leagues, Triple Crown winner in 1966, two-time World Series champion. 586 home runs, almost 3,000 hits. He could run, he could field. He was in terms of his baseball IQ, much like Willie Mays. He had great instincts on the field and really understood the nuance of the game. And so, as a player by itself, I think he was really one of the greats and quite overlooked when you think about him compared to others in baseball history. Then start thinking about what he did when this bat was used and post-career. He was the first Black manager in Major League Baseball. It seems like a pretty big deal, and it should be. In 1975 and, of course, in 1976 when this bat was used, he was a player manager. He was manager of the year later on, I believe, in the late 1980s, I believe with the Orioles, if I'm not mistaken. He was a manager with the Expos and Nationals. He was a coach for several teams. He worked in the Major League Baseball front office in a number of different positions. He was a baseball guy and through. And so when you look at Frank Robinson's body of work and the contribution to the game as a player in Act 1 and then as a manager, coach, and executive sort of in Act 2, you start thinking to yourself, why is this guy not revered more than he is? And it's not that he isn't, but certainly I think he should be placed on a much sort of higher, pedestal, if you will, than he currently is. So let me get that all out of the way. So let's talk about the bat itself. So the bat, it's pinpointed in 1976 when he was a player manager for the Cleveland Indians. It was his last year as a part-time player. The bat is, my goodness, this bat, like the Williams, is just covered in Frank Robinson's fingerprints, if you will. The left barrel is absolutely annihilated with ball marks and stitch impressions. The back barrel, I posted a nice picture of this on my Twitter feed. It has cleat marks all over the upper back barrel, which is a classic trait for Frank Robinson. Frank Robinson was one of those guys who loved to bang his cleats at the plate when he was stepping in and out of that batter's box. So you see lots of sort of clustered cleat marks on the back barrel. Sometimes you'll even see shoe polish that rubbed off on the wood from the constant clanking of the cleats. It's got his uniform number on the knob. It's got the Liberty Bell brand, which is a one-time branding by H&B in 1976, which again it pins this bat too. But on top of everything else, this bat was acquired initially from the Orioles team photographer, and it remained in his collection for a long time. It comes with a letter, I believe, from the son of that photographer. And by the way, as the icing on the cake, it is photo matched to a photo that was taken by that photographer. See if you can say that.
Wow,
fast.
all
But
fits together.
photo matched, photo and photographer. But the photo, it's so great because the photo where you can match it, he's tilting the bat right at the camera, and you can line up all of the witch's peaks in the grain along the facing of the barrel. And it's one of those matches that is so clear and so definitive, which again sort of operates as the icing on the cake to this incredible gamer. But really, I mean, when I think about Frank Robinson, and as you could tell, I'm pretty passionate about his place in history. What's so cool about this bat is it bridges that gap between Frank Robinson as a player and Frank Robinson in Act Two as a manager, as a coach, ultimately as an executive. But it's sort of that symbol of his total contribution to the game. And again, I cannot understand for the life of me why Frank Robinson hasn't risen to another level based on his total contribution.
I would agree. A lot of times when people talk about the Hall of Fame, they talk about the top tier ones, the Mays, Hank Aaron, Mantle, Ruth, Cobb, guys like that. And Robinson's resume on the field, he deserves to be in that, but I don't think a lot of people put him in there. And then just to think about him being the first Black manager and playing at the same time, the stress that just comes with being a manager, but then having to live up to the expectations of breaking that barrier and then also playing, that is an unbelievable accomplishment. And he had Hall of Fame statistics after he retired with all he did as a manager and in the front office. Just an unbelievable career and a real one of one as far as individuals go.
Yeah, I mean, the fact that he had such a great career after being a player shows all of us how much he was a student of the game, how much because look, the reality is in all sports, right? Sometimes there are athletes who are just great at playing that sport, but they're not necessarily students of the game. They don't necessarily have leadership qualities. I mean, you can't be a manager, a coach, an executive for that long of a period of time and not have those qualities and not have that deep understanding of the game. And so, he really was the total package as a baseball man beyond just being a great player.
Yeah, unparalleled career. They often say those who can't do coach, and that's pretty true. There's very few examples of legendary Hall of Fame players who are also excellent coaches, and Frank Robinson did that. And then even less examples of people that were great coaches that became great front office guys. Yeah. Usually you can do one thing in one of those veins and that's it at that level. But he did all three.
It's hard to relate, I think, for some of these superstar athletes to the next, to make the game simple. Right. It's really, really hard to do. But you guys make a great point about him also being an executive, because he was with Selig for a long, long time, it seemed like. And he was with the Expos at the end, wasn't he? Was he their last manager?
Well, no, he actually moved into the front office in a number of.
I'm sorry, it was the Nationals. My bad.
With Major League Baseball as an executive with a number of different roles, baseball operations and a number of other things. And I really think if you step back and you just look at the resume, you do a double take, like what, again. How many people have been a Rookie of the Year, Manager of the Year, World Series champion, Triple Crown winner, MVP both leagues, front office, Major League? I mean, it's unbelievable. And so, you put all that aside and just the bat itself, it's virtually perfect. I mean, you know what I mean? I don't know. I guess it is perfect in many respects. The bat by itself would be a 10 without the provenance, practically, without the photo match. It has everything. It had, like I said, in terms of its character, its use, it just checks, again, every box imaginable. And I think, hopefully someday, will look back and there'll be a time where people will understand Frank Robinson's place in history in an appropriate way. And again, this bat is I think it's very cool as a collector. It really bridges that gap between those two acts. So it's a special piece. I know we're talking about with Williams, we're talking about his last year. This is a different kind of thing with Frank Robinson being a player manager. But both bats, obviously, just great sort of last year examples for both guys.
Very cool with the Liberty Bell bicentennial being able to tie it
Links
to
it to
that
that
one
year.
year, which was such a big year in our country as well. So that's just another little bit of icing on top of an incredible bat.
Yeah, I mean it's historical in every respect, I guess you could say. Yeah.
Now, earlier today, our other executive VP, Derek Grady, said you don't know anything except baseball. Is that true?
I hope not. I just happen to really like baseball. But I hope not.
So I'm glad
we
to see
can
this
talk
last
more if
item
you
on
want.
your list can really just put it in Derek's face.
So you want to talk about the Tom Brady?
Let's do it.
All right. Well, yeah. So the Tom Brady jersey, I think what makes, look, it's obviously he retired recently for good, as he says, for good this time.
We'll see. We'll see.
We'll see. But yeah, I think everyone kind of figures this is it. This might sound strange, but as much coverage as Tom Brady has received the last few years, and as much as we've heard Tom Brady uttered on every sports podcast, on TV, I mean, it's just, is it possible that in some ways he's underrated? And I know that may sound crazy coming out of my mouth, but
make the case.
I will make the case. I think it's when someone has done it for so long at such a high level, you sort of get desensitized to it and you take it for granted. And I think that is the case with Tom Brady. I mean, I could sit here and talk all day about his career, but let's put it this way. Patrick Mahomes, which people, are saying, oh, he's the new guy. Obviously, he's a tremendous, tremendous quarterback. He just won his second Super Bowl, right? Out of 3. He's been in 3. He's won his second Super Bowl. So if you add Patrick Mahomes 2 Super Bowls to Aaron Rodgers 1 to Joe Montana's 4, you get Tom Brady 7.
Nice.
I mean, just to put it in real perspective. And I think when you look at the career numbers, a lot of people forget that for most of that time, Tom Brady played in a system that was very run heavy. He wasn't throwing the ball as often as other guys were able to throughout their career. Like let's take a Drew Brees, for example. He wasn't, they were very balanced. They ran, they threw. Plus, guess what? Let's talk about game script. When you're winning so often, what do you do in the second half? You run the ball even more, right? So for so many of his years in New England, they were, again, at minimum balanced, but I would say because of game script, they're running a lot in the second half. So just imagine what his numbers would have been if he was throwing the ball more often and played in a different kind of system and maybe, wasn't winning so many games. But of course, that's what makes Tom Brady special. It's what makes most quarterbacks sort of special and elevates them to the Mount Rushmore of quarterbacks. Fairly or unfairly, quarterbacks are judged by winning and losing because it's the one position I think in all of sports where the position has such an impact, such a great effect on the players around them and on the game itself, on the pace, on what's happening. I don't think there's another position in sports quite like quarterback in football. And this jersey, getting to the jersey, look, he had the last 3 years in Tampa, obviously kind of solidified his status. For those who were questioning if he was a system guy, which I always thought was laughable, or not, what does he do? He goes out and he wins the Super Bowl in his first year in Tampa in a COVID year with no preseason and all that good stuff. And then the next year, wins the division and goes to the playoffs, wins a game and so forth, and then puts up the last couple of years sets records for things like, attempts and completions this year in his final year. So he still had it, I guess, a lot like we were talking about earlier from an individual standpoint, like a Ted Williams. But make no mistake, look, he earned the GOAT status while in New England, and that's where he is beloved more than anywhere else. And so this jersey, I mean, this was used at the height of his powers, right? This is one of his best individual seasons. Another, of course, winning year. I think they were, if I recall correctly, they were 14-2, I think, the season that this jersey was used. He
also
used
the height of his hair length as well. I believe
that's right.
Long hair Brady hair.
Yeah,
there we go.
That is correct. It was used during a game where I believe he made a fourth quarter comeback, which again, he has the record for most fourth quarter comebacks as a quarterback.
44 comebacks.
Yeah. It's just, and of course it's photo matched. It's a completely dialed in Tom Brady jersey used during a great individual season. Again, all of his seasons with New England were sort of great years from a team perspective, but I do think, going back to kind of our initial part of the conversation, I really think that we were so sort of, we took for granted that we saw this for over 2 decades. I think it's hard to fully process what we just saw, over the past 20 plus years. I think when years from now, people will look back and go, I think Brady might actually have been better than we thought he was, even though he is already the GOAT. It's sort of not in dispute. When you really look at the numbers, all of the numbers, the team numbers, the individual numbers, everything he did, it's hard to process. And so this is a great opportunity for someone who's looking for a jersey that checks all the boxes, that was used, again, at the height of his powers during a great fourth quarter comeback, photo matched, you name it. This is it.
The thing I love about it is that they were down 10 going into the fourth quarter, forces overtime. They win it in overtime, and that was against the Ravens and a Ray Lewis-led defense.
Yeah.
So one of the best in the league for sure.
Playing against one of the best, too.
Yeah. So, and like you said, it may take some time to perspective to truly appreciate it. And, after these current guys like Mahomes, Burrow, Herbert, their careers are over, and you see where they land in comparison to Brady, likely he's going to be still outshining them. That'll give a real perspective on how incredible his career was.
And also, there's not a lot of great Tom Brady jerseys out there. There's not a ton of photo matched game-worn jerseys of his, too. So there's a very limited supply. And this one has got everything you could want with the photo matching, the autograph, and everything, in good use, too.
Worn at home at Foxborough.
Yeah. I mean, it's got everything you could want.
Great jersey. Great selection, Joe, as always. What else? You got anything else for us?
I guess that's all for round one.
If you think of anything,
just pop right back
come
on.
back on, because this is a great education that we get on the bats and the uniforms and the cards.
Always a pleasure to have you on,
fun.
Joe, and great to have you on the staff. We've all learned a lot, especially Tony, from having you on. And thank you for sharing your knowledge with the clients and friends who are joining us tonight.
Well, I appreciate it. And I'm going to go drink a 24-ounce coffee, and we'll see what happens after that.
I like it. We'll have to check back in with you later when you're bouncing off the walls there.
20 minutes from now, we're going to come back to you.
Thanks, guys. Have a good rest of the show.
Thank you, Joe. Just incredible. Hobby legend. So great to have him in the fold at Heritage. And he could just do that all night. I'm surprised he hasn't stolen our jobs.
The small details he can provide, it's just amazing, with the green bat rack marks. And then the thing I thought was really interesting was the pine tar on the Willie Mays bats. And when I think about it now, he's exactly right. You don't see the early ones with a lot of pine tar. You see them later on with a ton of pine tar. And I mean, just the details that he knows and can provide, I didn't know. And I didn't know a lot of this stuff. So this is a great education
the whole reason
for everybody.
We do this show, Tony, is to teach you.
Is to educate. Oh, thanks.
Yeah, no problem.
No, I just love hearing this.
So as we talked about, extended bidding begins at 10 p.m. tonight for session 1. Session 2, you can bid all night into tomorrow. But if you want some of these iconic items that are going in session 1, you've got an hour and 20 minutes to get your bids in. And while we're talking about iconic items, let's go ahead and talk about the cover item. Joe mentioned it briefly. The 1916 M101-4 Sporting News Babe Ruth rookie. The thing that's interesting about this one is there's so many cards that when you run into somebody who isn't in the industry, Tony, when you're at the gym or at a cocktail party, this is probably a card they do not know. They'll know the Honus Wagner, the 52 Topps Mantle. Probably the Ken Griffey rookie is one that people ask about. But if you ask them what the Ruth rookie was, they're probably not going to know. And this is it. And all hail the rookie. This one is an SGC Near Mint 7, Pop 2, None Superior. Beautiful examples. This Ruth representation is far and away one of the rarest cards that commonly surfaces in top 20 hobby rankings. You just never see it come out.
You just don't see it. And I mean, that's why for so long it didn't get the love, but it's gained so much popularity. Yeah. Popularity, momentum. It's just really gained a lot in the last, probably 10 to 15 years.
Yes.
But they are so hard to find. And that's why, people don't know them as much. And when they do come up, they get great prices, and they've gone up considerably from where they had ever been before.
Yeah, so this one is in stunningly fine condition. Corner touches are only evident when you take a real close inspection on it. Hard to see them even in the imaging because they're so minute. Centering, a common fault within the known population of M101s, is unusually strong here. So a really incredible example, one of the finest and most valuable cards in the hobby.
And he's pitching and in a Red Sox uniform.
Yes.
Which are things when you think of Ruth, you think of with the Louisville Slugger in his hands. And this is, of course, early, and when he was a top-tier pitcher. So
beautiful example.
It is.
Moving to the next one, of course, a lot of hobby news, a lot of hobby interest about the 52 Topps Mantle, especially following the SGC 9.5 selling for $12.6 million.
They've come out of the woodwork.
They have.
It's amazing.
Some of the finest examples as well. We've seen incredible prices for 52 Topps Mantle in all grades, essentially, in the last 6 months. This one is a beautiful near mint 8. So there's only 6 and a 9, and there's only 3 10. So this is right at the top, and condition is very strong. Strong centering, flawless registration, and a gloss that supplies that pack fresh sheen, Tony, that you're looking for.
I want to bid on this now. I mean, my goodness. No, I mean,
Tony, you have to sign a lifetime contract with Heritage in order to bid on this. And I'm not sure they would be interested in that. Remains to be seen. But a beautiful example. One that still stops down the Heritage offices when it comes in. Everybody's got to take a look at it. Just gorgeous card. Tony, you've got one on the modern side.
Yeah, one of the absolute toughest cards from the 1980s to find in high grade, the Jerry Rice rookie, and this one, 1986 Topps, centering, as in a lot of the Topps issues from this time period, is so difficult. Green borders, they chipped really easily. This one here, Gem Mint 10. Right now, $52,500, but we've seen a lot of bids, a lot of action on this card, and this one's really gotten more and more expensive, which is really interesting because there's just not many 10s. 9s are tough enough. There's just so many things on this card, and you can see really nice ones, but most of the time they are off center. So to find that centered example, this one here is one of the nicest that you're going to find.
Interesting year about 86, that this comes out in 86, unquestionably the GOAT at wide receiver, his debut. And then, of course, you've got the 86 Fleer Jordan, which you can argue that many arguments about who's the greatest basketball player. Certainly the best at his position at shooting guard, no question.
Absolutely.
If you're going to put LeBron at the 3 there, which I will.
We can get that debate going.
Go ahead and call us in. Tony, what's your number? People can talk about that. And we've got some modern iconic cards as well. Just talking about Tom Brady with Joe with the jersey that's over here on my left shoulder. We've also got his most iconic rookie, the 2000 Playoff Contenders Championship ticket Tom Brady rookie. This one's a BGS near mint plus 8.5 and a 10 auto from the GOAT there. Only 100 made. This number 67 of 100. It's the calling card.
It's the football card to own.
Yes.
It really, truly is. And
only 7 superior to this one right here. And as we talked about, when it comes to GOATs, he's the one that's head and shoulders above everyone else. There is no argument.
I think Joe made a great point that, as time goes on, people are going to really understand how the impact that he had on the sport. Because in football, you're not made to win for a long period of time, but he did. He sustained, and then to go win in Tampa Bay, of course, that really was the cherry on top of his career.
Indeed. And we'd be remiss if we didn't talk about the LeBron rookie. We have another unbelievable offering, the 2003 Upper Deck Exquisite Collection, LeBron James, RPA autograph level 1, and only 23 created. This is number 12, and it has a 10 autograph from King James. All 3 colors on the patch. Another example of this sold for $5.2 million, of course, not long ago. So this is the iconic card of the modern collector.
Right, and he's not done yet. I mean, he's got a couple more years left, I think.
Yeah, so, he's waiting for Bronny.
Yeah, exactly. And I think that's going to bring another generation once, Bronny comes along, plays with his dad, hopefully. I mean, it could be.
He just set the scoring title. Have you seen the NBA? There are discussions of shortening the season in order to combat the load management. So maybe instead of the All-Star game, they'd have a play-in tournament situation. But if there's less regular season games, it makes it even less likely somebody will get to that scoring.
Yeah, I didn't think anybody ever thought that somebody would come along and beat
Kareem.
His record. I know. Little Cinder. No, but I mean, and nobody thought anybody would ever challenge that mark. And for somebody to have that kind of longevity is just amazing. And he's had long seasons every year of his career, long playoff runs. So, I mean, it's amazing how he's been able to stay on top of
30 last year. He's right there again this year. So it's not like he's
not
accumulating stats, at 10 a game just to get over the top. He's going to put that mark way out there.
Yeah, absolutely. He's going to.
All right. One thing that's been very hot in the industry is signed vintage cards, Tony. We've seen some huge numbers for those. And in our last auction, we had incredible numbers for Clemente cards, non-rookie cards. So I think this one you're about to talk to is going to have
this one tonight. Here, the 1955 Topps. And I remember this card about 8 years ago, taking one of these in, and we sold it for $20,000 or $25,000, and we were excited. We're like, "That's a great number for this card." And now this is a $75,000 to $100,000 card. And again, people, when they would get his autograph, you would get a scorecard. Some people would get an index card, but very few people would get an actual baseball card signed. And especially the rookie. The rookie was always the coveted one. And, people just didn't think to get it signed. And of course, he died so young. Very few of the signed rookie cards. And this is one of the holy grails, you would say, because there's not many out there. There's never going to be a lot of them out there. And he signed it in blue ballpoint. So it's a period ink, which is really, really cool.
And it's signed in the perfect spot, which there isn't much room on this card. Very busy card. I love the design of it. But if you're talking about getting someone to sign, there's only that one spot where it's going to be able to be seen clearly, and he nailed it. He got
Absolutely
it right in there.
Did. And he did it just above the facsimile, which is so cool. It looks really, really neat. But yeah, there's just so few of these. And I think we had one that was signed in like a black pencil. I think we had one of 5-6 months ago. But this one here looks so clean and just crisp. It's a beautiful example of his autograph on the rookie card, which everybody wants now.
And this next one you're going to talk about, although it's a modern card and he's still alive, probably just as likely to get this card signed as you are to get a Clemente card signed right now.
Yeah, this is the Michael Jordan, the 86-87 Flair. From what I've heard, he won't sign this card anymore. He did do some with Upper Deck, but has stopped signing. And this one's got a beautiful period vintage full name autograph on the back of it. And it does have a letter, I believe, from the Bulls. So, I mean, there's some really...
letterhead.
Yeah, which adds a whole different layer to it. On their letterhead.
So somebody requested it and then the Bulls acquired it that year. The letter's dated 86 as well. Got it signed in 86, the year of the issue. Ironclad provenance to that. Greatness.
It just looks so nice on even though it is on the back, it still really pops, and it's such a cool autograph. And again, I mean, back during this time period, he signed every letter of his name. He had such a good autograph. He still does have a nice autograph, but that's the quote unquote rookie signature.
He's watching.
Yes.
If you get a chance for an autograph, you don't want to diminish.
To Tony, best wishes. But no, just a really cool one. And, again, these are hard to find, especially with the vintage signature. So it's a really cool piece. With the Ruth rookie, we were talking about how amazingly it could be underrated. Here's another underrated card, in my opinion, the 1925 Exhibits Lou Gehrig rookie. Gehrig is one of the most popular, beloved players that has ever graced the diamond. And this card is rarely talked about, I feel like. Part of it is the rarity. There's less than 100 in the combined grading censuses of all grading companies. So incredibly rare to get one. And this one is signed by the Iron Horse. It's only the second one we've seen, and we see everything. So an incredible one here, and a PSA 8 autograph from Gehrig on this one. Issued in 25, June 25, his streak begins. So just an unbelievable issue. And there's only a handful signed. Like I said, we've only seen 2. And you don't see a lot of early stuff of his.
Yes.
There's just not much. You think of the Gaudi mainly when you think of his cards. You don't think of this exhibit card as much. And the thing is, you're right, to have it signed. Again, this was a tougher thing to get signed. It was what did they have? They had steel tip.
Yes. Fountain pen.
Fountain pen. So it was much more difficult to sign something like this for it to really look nice. But this one here displays incredibly well.
Great placement of the signature.
Absolutely, it is
on this one as well. That's a big part of it.
And they're just so hard to find, anyways. Just to find one and to find one autographed with that nice signature like that. I mean, it's amazing. And that one is just the nicest that you're ever going to find.
Yeah, there it is. Finding a new home tonight. Another beautiful signed rookie card here. This is the 51 Bowman Mickey Mantle rookie. True rookie here.
The true rookie, yes.
From Mantle, signed with a 10 autograph on it and signed in blue, which really adds to the aesthetics, in my opinion. It looks almost exactly like an example of a 51 Bowman signed by Mantle we sold in August of last year for $216,000.
That card is gaining so much steam now. So many more people are. The 52 has got so expensive that has just brought people
priced out at every level.
Yeah, I mean, for even a 1, but the 51's a little more manageable. Still very expensive,
yes.
But then also to have the true rookie sign, both of ours together.
So this one, the colors are bright, the registration is sharp, and perfect signature from the Mick on there.
Yeah, very few of those.
This next one I really like. I'd never seen one of these before. I'd never seen one signed, and there's hardly any in existence at all. This is the 1935 Pebble Beach Joe DiMaggio, autographed by the Yankee Clipper.
A new discovery, by the way.
Yes.
That one just came in probably 6 months ago. It had the whole set signed.
Never seen it.
It's just amazing, and just how that autograph just jumps off of that card like that. Signed back in 36, 37 when he was just a youngster.
Lanky little kid.
Yeah.
The earliest and rarest of all DiMaggio cards. This is one of just 4 signed examples in the PSA population. And they only have 19 of this card in their population total. So there's a reason why you never see it. And I love that he was playing for the San Francisco Seals. That was his hometown.
He was going to say he's a hometown boy. Yeah, playing in front of the.
And that year he batted .398, 34 home runs, 48 doubles, 18 triples, 154 RBIs. And guess what? He was the MVP of the Pacific Coast League.
And the PCL was really good baseball, too. I mean, that was the first time baseball really hit on the West Coast. And there's a lot of people that just went to, that was a very popular league. It has a cult following. It really does.
It does indeed. All right. Another very rare signed card here from a global icon. This is the 1959 Heinerle Pele with a PSA 10 autograph from the global icon. So the biggest, most important name in the most popular sport on the globe. Tragically, Pele just passed. As we get older, Tony, you and me, a lot of these legends.
A little more gray hairs than for both of us, too.
But, you know, he's the name everybody knows, even if you know nothing about soccer
or sports,
football,
even. Yeah,
you know
football.
Pele.
Yes.
And he was really one of the first great Black sporting ambassadors. He burst on the scene in 1958 at 17 years old in the World Cup, biggest tournament in the world, being hosted in Sweden. He makes his debut there against the USSR, and then he scores 6 goals throughout the tournament, including 2 in the final. His performance was so great, one of the Swedish players that they played in the final said he wanted to applaud him during the game.
The ultimate sign of respect.
Yes.
Yeah,
so the
top
photo
that?
on this Heinerli is from that 58 World Cup final against Sweden. Pele with some aerial acrobatics. He could do it all on the pitch. So great example here. Love the photo, 17 years old. And then only 200 of these cards reside within a PSA slab. This is the only signed example that exists. Unlikely that there are any others out there. And of course, no more can be added.
And I mean,
So, a 1 of 1.
soccer is just so, I mean, it is the world sport, and you're seeing more and more collectibles going up, increasing in value over the years now, and it's going to continue.
Yes.
And he is the signature star. He is the guy.
That's a great investment right
yeah,
there.
absolutely.
So Tony, that's got to be all the impressive signed rookie cards we have.
No, we're not.
Right?
We're not quite done.
No, all right. What do you got over there?
The one that kind of stood out for me on the basketball side, Pistol Pete Maravich, the first of the top 50 players to die. He died in I think 1987 or 88, and leaving a severe shortage of his autographs. Well, of course he didn't sign enough for the huge demand, and also he didn't sign many of his rookie card. And this one here, a Pistol Pete, of course, how he used to sign his name. It's got a nice vintage Pistol Pete, probably signed in the early 70s. So a nice period signature. And, for the rookie cards for basketball, rookie cards that for autographed ones, this is the one that virtually are just non-existent.
I hadn't seen one before.
No. And then there's so few because, again, the tall boys, hard to bring around. It wasn't easy to transport these. And people got, usually we get scorecards, program something easy to get signed. Cards kind of never, people didn't really get those signed as much. And especially his rookie card, a tall boy. And
he made use of that tall boy.
Yeah, he did. He put a nice signature dead center on this. And yeah, there's just not many. And this is another one that I think a lot of people are going to go towards.
Nice. Well, we're going to take a short break. And then we're going to come back and talk some gamers. We've got some incredible gamers in this auction.
I'm ready.
But before we do, Tony, what's going on the big board? What's hitting?
Recently retired J.J. Watt just got hit about 3 times, 82.50 for a photo match, Wisconsin Badger jersey.
We're going to talk about that shortly.
Giannis, 9,500. But let's see. Jordan, game-worn photo match sneakers, 15,000. Larry Bird debut ticket, 24,000. Really, really cool piece that came in towards the end. The signed 51 Bowman, 81,000. So people are starting to put those bids in now.
Magic hour.
Yeah, this is where it gets fun. This is where you hit refresh all the time.
So for session 1, you have to have your bids in before 10 p.m. Central Time, which is 1 hour away, to take part in extended bidding, which begins at 10. Session 2, you have all night and tomorrow to bid. We're going to talk about some of that material too. Great items in that. But now we're going to take a quick break, and then we'll come back and talk about some gamers. There is one dogma that has held sway over the trading card community for generations. All hail the rookie. There is only one universally recognized Babe Ruth rookie card, and this is it. The 1916 M1014 Sporting News Babe Ruth. It's a card that elevates even the most distinguished of collections. Within the population of Ruth 101 4s and 5s, this near mint 7 specimen shares SGC supremacy with just one other example. It survives in stunningly fine condition, with corner touches only evident upon the closest of inspection. Centering, a common fault within the known population of M101s, is unusually strong here. It's a monumentally important and desirable relic, unquestionably one of the finest and most valuable trading cards on the planet. It will join a new collection on February 25th as a featured lot in our Winter Platinum Night auction. Love the golden pipes of whoever's doing the voiceover.
He's got a gift from God.
Impressive.
Is that Vince Scully? Or is that, reminds me of Vince Scully.
Almost as old. So, Tony, we have a really remarkable selection of game-worn and game-used items in the auction. We're going to go through some of those right now. Tony, what caught your eye?
Yeah, the 1971 Willie Mays game-worn San Francisco Giants jersey, mirrors A10. Just a gorgeous look. I love the piping. You got the black orange on the sleeves and the neck, and that beautiful Giants right across the chest, arched across the chest. And I know Joe was talking about this before. You know, Willie Mays has his game used bats, uniforms, all of his items have really gone up in value within the last 2 years. I mean, he is probably the biggest living legend left in baseball right now, and we've got one of the finest jerseys that you could have from his career towards the end of his run in San Francisco. But a mirrors A10, so it's got everything you could want. Right now, $225,000, but just such a cool piece. And there's so few high-end game-worn jerseys of Mays, and this one is one of, if not the nicest I have ever seen. It's just such a great look. You put this on a mannequin and put it under glass and make sure everybody can see it. But I mean, this is a museum quality.
Mays. So we had the highlights from the auction on display in the gallery in our world headquarters here in Dallas. So we had a deck arts auction going on. We had a historical auction going on in the building. We had coin lot viewing going on. So you get a lot of people coming in who are high-end collectors, very seasoned collectors and investors, but may not know anything about sports. So I was standing out there, and so many people were drawn to that jersey. One guy who is a coin collector, a numismatist, as they call him, he was walking by and he said, "Is that Willie Mays?" All you could see was the Giants. And he said he knew nothing about sports, but he knew Willie Mays. He knew the Giants. And he stood there. He had me take a picture of him with it.
That's amazing.
He said he'd never bought a sports item before, but he was like, that's the kind of thing I could buy right there.
Yeah. I mean, he moves the radar. He always has. And he could do everything. He had a great long career.
Great nickname.
Yeah, great nickname, great outfielder. I mean, he just did everything. And this one here is a top-tier example of a game-worn Mays jersey. You're definitely going to want the Giants. The Mets is kind of it's the very, very end. But this is the end of a San Francisco run, and just such a gorgeous-looking jersey too. The quality of how they made these back then, and they would wear this for half the season too.
Right.
So it's not like it is today, where a guy wears it for a week maybe. This was worn for half a season, most likely.
Nice.
It's great, cool.
So sticking with baseball, we have two just incredible Joe DiMaggio jerseys in the auction. Both, it's remarkable that they even exist. First is the circa 1933 Joe DiMaggio game-worn San Francisco Seals jersey. Yeah, that's a DiMaggio minor league jersey right there. It's the earliest known DiMaggio gamer. We were talking about the Pebble Beach being his earliest and rarest card. This predates that even, and it was worn by him. He debuted in the meaningless last few games of the 32 season, and then the lanky outfielder became a full-time starter at age 18 in 1933. And that season, he gave organized baseball the first of 2 legendary streaks because he hit safely in 61 consecutive games that season between May 27th and July 25th.
I mean, who would have thought that this would even survive?
Exactly.
You think of the Seals, you think they would wear these things until they were literally thrown out or people wouldn't save this. And that it's been around for this amount of time. It's just amazing. And it's DiMaggio, and it's early DiMaggio. And again, to find something from that time of his career at the very, very, very beginning, I'm shocked that it's still around.
So it comes from the collection of famed collector Barry Halper,
Okay.
who said that he acquired it from veteran major leaguer Dick Bartell in 1983 at the Golden Anniversary edition of the All-Star Game. And then, of course, Halper was close personal friends with DiMaggio, so he got him to sign it. One thing that I like is where he signed it, the collar. Some people don't like on the vintage to have an modern autograph because this was in the 80s when he signed it. So he signed it in the collar.
A true collector.
It displays great because
Yes.
you can see it when the jersey's laying flat. The inscription, it says Joe DiMaggio, and he put 1933 on there. So dating it himself. And I like if, Josh, you pull up that image 1, the front image again, you can see it's darkened by sweat from the furnace that would be created by 2 layers of heavy flannel when you tuck the pants in there.
Yes.
Playing in San Francisco in the summer, heavy flannel wool jerseys.
Yeah, those jerseys are, it's amazing how
uncomfortable.
they wore those.
It had to be so uncomfortable, just to the touch even. It's not like today's fabric, that's for sure.
Yeah.
So remarkable that exists. And then on the other end of the Yankee Clippers career, we have a 1948 Joe DiMaggio New York Yankees game-worn jersey. And what's really significant about this one is one Bronx legend paying homage to another, because you can see on the left sleeve there is the black Babe Ruth memorial armband. Babe Ruth died in August 1948. The Yankees, and I believe every team, wore the memorial armband.
You rarely see these. I don't think I've ever seen one.
First Yankees one anyone on our staff has ever seen with
Yeah.
a band on it. So SOP for the Yankees following the season, you strip the numbers and the names off the jerseys. You would strip that armband off, send the jerseys down to the minors. This one survived. Our guess is because it meant a lot to DiMaggio. He took the torch from Ruth. Here's the jersey that was paying homage to him, and he must have kept it. There's really no other reason why it would still exist.
It almost gives you chills when you think of Ruth and then DiMaggio, how they're linked by that. It's amazing. Yeah, I never knew that this existed, and that armband just gives it so much collectability.
And this one is photo matched as well. Really good work by Resolution to photo match this one. Tough to do with those really old jerseys like this. So
and it's not pinstripes, so you're not
right
aligning pinstripes, so that makes it much more difficult.
And DiMaggio had an amazing season. He should have won the MVP. He won the MVP in 47. This year in 48, he claimed 2/3 of the Triple Crown. He had 39 homers, 155 RBIs, and he outslugged the winner Lou Boudreau by over 60 points.
Wow.
So should have won that MVP
Recount.
there. Yeah. All right, Tony, I'll let you take over. What other game-worn items?
Let's see what we've got. All kinds of goodies. 1985, Pete Rose game-used fielder's glove.
Cool one.
From when he broke Ty Cobb's time-honored record, his hits record. This one is photo matched. It's got a nice photo of Pete Rose wearing this glove, and he also signed a photo, my glove from when I broke the record. But having that all-important photo match, again, really sets it apart. A letter from Rose on team letterhead. It's got everything that you could want for a Rose glove. And gloves, as we all know, are such a personal item for a player. They don't tend to give them up all that often. Now, Rose was an expert marketer, so he knew his value and his worth. But gloves typically see a lot of wear, and this one does show good use toward the end of his career. But the photo match, just a really, really cool thing. And we've seen Rose stuff go up too, because people understand his spot in the game of baseball. Sure. He played it harder than anybody else. And no matter what, good or bad, whatever you think of him, he does have a place, of course, in baseball history.
cool piece to be tied to the record game.
Yeah, absolutely. And the next one we've got is Shohei Ohtani, who can pretty much do it all.
Yes.
We've talked about him before being kind of this generation's Babe Ruth, that he could pitch and hit. And, it's something that we always wondered if it could be done. Well, this guy has done it.
Yes.
And, to throw mid-90s and to hit a 450-foot shot, he can do it all. And this one here, matched to 3 games. And, he's a guy that is helping baseball get more worldwide acknowledgement. And, he's got an
Probably
MVP.
should have won the MVP this year.
Yeah, exactly.
It's
It's something, if you can see him pitch in person, go do it, because I don't know if this will ever happen again or when the next time that it will happen. And this one again, Fanatics, MLB Authenticated, it's got everything you could want, photo matched. So it's a great Ohtani gamer.
We just
And
need to get that guy into the playoffs.
yeah, that's next thing. I'm sorry, it's got
Postseason.
Fanatics and MLB. It's not photo match, but it is definitely used in those games. So yeah, you're right. If he had postseason success, him and Trout, we can only imagine what this would do.
I think it's coming.
I hope it does. I would love to see it.
All right. Speaking of postseason play, let's take a look at an incredible game-used bat here. One of the finest we've ever handled, one of the finest we've ever seen. This is a 1926-27 Lou Gehrig game-used and signed bat with the most exhaustively documented signature in hobby history. I'm going to go ahead and say that.
Let's go. I want to hear this.
Let me prove the point. So it has been presented to, approved, and has a full LOA from Steve Grad at Beckett, Kevin Keating at PSA, and James Spence at Spence Authentication, with full letters from all them. But wait, there's more. It was also subjected to scientific analysis by a lab called Microtrace, which undertook a microscopic review of the signature, finding ancient sandpaper grit where the bat's varnish was removed to provide the autograph with a more conductive surface, and assessing the ink as iron gall, the most common format utilized during the 1920s. They concluded, and I quote, "The results of these analyses do not raise any reason to doubt the age and authenticity of this 1926-27 era Lou Gehrig signature and bat." How about that, Tony? Have you ever?
I'm very impressed. No, that's the next level.
You?
That's the next big thing that's going to be hitting now is that. So
Unreal. So
all of our autographs are going to be going to
the
labs.
lab. Maybe we'll just move the lab into our world headquarters here. So that's just the autograph. We know how rare autograph bats from that era are.
Incredibly difficult.
So let's check another box. 1926-27. Was that a good era for Yankees players? Tony?
Wasn't bad.
bad.
Something Murder's Row or something.
So it's fashioned from top grade northern white ash by Joseph G. Krenn and his bat company in Syracuse, New York. It was a boutique factory that didn't get the widespread distribution like Hilrick and Bradbury, but superior quality gained notice from some of the top figures, including Babe Ruth. We suspect that Gehrig was turned onto the brand by the Babe. It's 36 inches of high-grade lumber and 43 ounces, Tony. A little more, 43.1 ounces. And the two-season production range finds the slugger adding more than 200 points to his slugging percentage, while nearly tripling his home run production to a career-high 52 in 1927.
Yeah, that's not a bad season.
The Murderer's Row. It has great use, PSA game use 10 on it. And we talked about the autograph. It's one of the finest Gehrig bats that exist. It's just unbelievable.
I mean, that's a chunk of wood. 43 ounces. That's some pretty serious weight.
When you
on
see pictures of Gehrig, you can see that he could handle it.
Yeah.
I mean,
He was a strong man.
Doesn't begin to describe it.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so now a little more modern gamer, switching it up, but a very important jersey here. It's a 2013 Colin Kaepernick NFC divisional game-worn
that
and
just got
signed
bid on right now.
49ers jersey. Sorry to bring this jersey, Tony, because this is the game.
I can still see him running around the Packers
Yes.
defense, and they had no answer to Colin Kaepernick.
He rebounded from an early pick 6 to lead the 49ers to a 45-31 win over the Packers. 16 rushes for an all-time QB record, 181 yards. That included a record 56-yard touchdown run longest postseason touchdown run by a quarterback. One of the greatest performances in NFL history in the playoffs, just his 8th start. He also had 2 touchdown passes for his 2 on the ground. So he had 444 total yards, 4 touchdowns, and it has incredible wear. And it's been photo matched, not to just some random photo, but the January 21st Sports Illustrated cover and the cover of the February 2013 ESPN, the magazine, and letter of provenance from Colin Kaepernick himself. And he signed it, and the inscription says 1-12-13, 4 TDs, 181 yards rushing, NFL record, 45-31 win versus the Packers' first playoff win, all noted in his own hand. That is what we call ironclad, Tony.
Yeah. This one has just exploded. I think
so
it's almost
Wednesday,
doubled in price.
This was at 17,000. And Kaepernick's a hot figure, for sure. Took a very bold stance with his protests that alienated a lot of people, but also endeared him to a lot of people. And we're seeing those people come out because now it is at
$87,500.
$87,000.
And I think
that's a crazy price for a modern jersey.
Absolutely. And I mean, the last 2 or 3 days, I mean, that just tells you in an auction, people wait till the end, but there's some fierce bidding on this. And I mean, my goodness, $87,500.
And that classic 49ers look right there.
And it's photo match to Royce kissing his arm.
Yes.
That was, which he did a lot against the Packers that day.
Sorry to bring it up.
Yeah,
though.
no, that was unbelievable.
Right. What gamers do you want to talk about?
So I know we talked about it a little before, but just to bring up again the Tom Brady jersey.
That's right here over my left.
Again,
I smell the greatness from here.
Well, and you know, we were talking about it a little before, but just how few of these there are. And I remember when these were, you know, a Brady jersey, a good one like this, 100,000.
Yes.
Now, you know, I've had conversations with collectors, and you know, I think we all
should have gone 50-50 on one back then.
Yeah, I know. Why didn't we think of that? We were probably talking about how great it was and everything.
Those who can't do host closing shows.
Yes, that's what we do. But no, I mean, there's a day this is going to be a $500,000 jersey, if it isn't already a $500,000 jersey. It very well could be. It's just amazing, you know, how long his career was, and how few quality game worn jerseys there are of Brady. So I thought that was of course, that's one of the greatest football jerseys that you could have. And the next one,
I knew you were going to do a Favre something.
You know, as a diehard Packer fan, I was almost, I hate to say, cheering for the Vikings to go to the Super Bowl. But then when he threw that interception, I'm like, that's Brett Favre. But this jersey really helped change the game altogether. He took an absolute pounding, brutal beating. He got hit high, he got hit low, he got hit after the play. It's the Bounty Gate jersey. And this is photo matched to the second half when he threw the infamous pick. Yes. But also, I mean, this
took a big hit on that pick.
He took just so many shots. And I mean, ultimately, the Saints organization, Sean Payton was suspended an entire season. Greg Williams, was he fired?
Yes.
Greg Williams was fired. I mean, it just changed that entire organization, it seemed like, at the time. And Brett Favre, who ultimately that year had probably his best year in the NFL. And after all those great years in Green Bay. But this year, statistically, he was amazing at such an advanced age. And this year, you know, it's not just as a Packer fan or a Viking fan, as an NFL fan. This is such a historic jersey.
It inspired a movie starring Kevin James, Sean Payton, about his years out of the league after he got suspended.
Yeah, I mean, it was, and at the time, that was such an unprecedented move to suspend a coach an entire season and to fire a coach. And
top level coach.
Yes, exactly.
Essentially, it was
Sean Payton's a Hall of Fame coach.
Him and Belichick at the top of the ranks as far as coaches go.
Yeah.
I don't think Jason Garrett was up there in those rankings at the time.
No, but maybe he's
part of the process.
But he's a great announcer, though. Now
is he?
Well, next. No, but again, it's a very historic jersey, and it's gotten a lot of action recently too. So. Really
got a
cool
great story behind it, which is another great box to check. All right, great. We're going to talk about some sneakers. We've got some great kits
my goodness,
in this auction. Love these. These are 1984 Michael Jordan, 1984.
I was 7.
Olympic, game-worn Team USA basketball worn in the gold medal game before he took on the NBA. He dominated the world. 22 points in the game-winning gold medal game. He had these shoes on during the game and on the podium. And then after the game, he gifted them to the team ball boy, who was Pat Knight, head coach Bobby Knight's son. So he's had them in his possession. It has a letter of provenance from Pat Knight. Very cool early Jordan item. And what I love about him, Jordan Converse.
I know.
Not many of those exist. The most famous name of all Nike brand ambassadors, it's not even close.
It's hard to think of him, but then
everybody wore Converse back.
But then when I see these shoes, I think of that Sports Illustrated cover when he's playing in the Olympics and he's kind of in the air, and I think he's wearing this style. I'm pretty sure he is. And yeah, I mean, when you think of Jordan, you do think of Nike, but this is even before that. And with that kind of provenance, that's what really sets these apart from most of the Jordan shoes. It's got a great.
I mean, Converse was the big name.
They were.
And I think it's so cool to have Jordan Converse because he's the guy that blew them out of the water just a few years later.
Isn't that crazy?
We've got the movie with Affleck and Damon coming up that's about that story.
I can't wait to watch that. I think that's going to be just really amazing.
And another great pair of Converse we have. This is possibly my favorite item in the auction right here. 1977 Dr. J game-worn sneakers. As Converse ads said at the time in 1977, Dr. J's moves are made in Converse shoes. And what is cooler than owning a pair of Dr. J shoes that he performed his unparalleled aerial acrobatics in? A player exclusive here. And 1977, very significant. His first year in the NBA, had a remarkable season, was the All-Star Game MVP, and took the Sixers to the finals that year, showing everyone that he could dominate whatever league he played in. He'd been the MVP of the ABA. He was a big one of the biggest motivating factors for the merger was Dr. J. He was the biggest name in basketball.
And what I love about these shoes, it has Dr. J embroidered on it, or it's got it stamped in, and that has to be the first time they ever did that for an athlete. It had to.
He was the first player exclusive athlete. Both are signed, nice big autographs,
vintage
from the good
too.
Doctor, and he dated it. 477 on both shoes. They're just so cool. Unbelievable piece, and somebody's going to take those home tonight. A lot of room for those to go.
37 minutes to get bids in. The Joe DiMaggio Pebble Beach 40,000 just got hit. 86 Fleer Jordan 150,000. So things starting to move. 48 Ruth Ball with Aaron 21. So yeah, now it's getting down
time.
there. Yeah, it's
moving day, as they say.
Moving day.
All right, Tony, what kicks caught your eye?
Well, there were a lot of kicks. There's one pair that really amazed me. 1993, Michael Jordan game-worn Bulls Game 6 clincher against the New York Knicks, which came from Tom Boerwinkel's daughter.
Knicks socks because of
my
shoes.
goodness! Oh, those are cool. With Sprewell, no less. I like it. And so these were worn in the clinching game. Michael gave these to Tom Boerwinkle, who was the announcer, and Jordan said, "Give these to your daughter," which he did. They were recently consigned. And
what did the daughter do as soon as she
first
got
thing
them?
she did, she smelled them, she said.
Tony, what's the first thing you do?
I 100% would have done the exact same thing. But she was just talking. I said, how lucky were you that you got to sit around that? You got to experience that. And she said she would go to the games with a friend, and her friend would just read a book.
Yikes.
It wasn't, they were right there. Yeah, and her friend would just sit and read a book. I'm like, that's interesting. But she kept them in fabulous condition. They photo matched. We used Resolution and Sports Investors. Both companies did photo match them. So right now, 57,500. Just really, really unique, cool. It's a cool time period for the Jordans. That's the end of his first three-peat. So, I mean, really, I'm almost at the height of his
power. For my Knicks, though.
Yes, yeah.
We thought we had him that year. And,
you had some fun teams, though. Those are I
don't
love
think
those
the competition would call them fun.
No. I loved Anthony Mason.
But I remember that game. I watched that game. We needed to win. We didn't get it, and that's one of the most popular styles of Air.
It is.
I remember everybody had those. I mean, I was in Plano, so a lot of the kids had it.
I didn't. I had the Tim Hardaway crossovers though.
How was your crossover?
It wasn't that good. Wasn't that good. No.
All right, these are iconic.
I
right
think these are the most unique sneakers in this auction. LeBron James game worn sneakers from his the 2000 high school
Ohio high school championship.
Yes, and with
freshman year.
Who would have ever thought to keep something like this? You would have thought he would have used these and then, the next year wore them on the playground or something. These would have an apparent photo match. They have some of the earliest autographs that he probably ever signed.
Put state champs on there.
Yeah, I mean, it's got everything you could want, and it's the earliest, probably one of the earliest LeBron James pieces of memorabilia you could own.
Great photo,
very
young
great
LeBron.
Photo. It's just it has every single thing, and I just love that early autograph and the inscription on it. It really,
shoes.
Yeah, on both of them, and he just looks so young here. Usually, when you think of LeBron, even at the earliest stages, you think of that Sports Illustrated cover, the chosen one, but this is 2 years before that even. So just I thought these really stood out, and I think these will do exceptionally well in the auction.
All-time scoring leader, right?
Yes,
there.
it is. Yes, he is. Yes, he is.
He had a great game, of course, in that championship game.
And these have to be the earliest pair of photo matched.
And they're Air
games.
Jordans.
They're Air Jordans. So you link those two together. There's no goggles with this, right? There we can link it with Kareem. Okay.
Well, funny you say that, because Tony, this next pair, 1988-89, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar.
I did not know he was going to pick this either.
Snickers.
I swear to God, I did not know this.
Yeah, low tops for the 7-footer. Interesting. And his favorite brand, LA Gear.
That's popular.
But these are from his last season. We talked earlier about how collectors love the bookends. This is from his final season when he was setting the scoring title that was just surpassed by LeBron. But size 16, LA Gear, as we said, those were favored by the begoggled skyhooker at the end of his career. But yeah, I was amazed that they were low tops.
Yeah, you would think. I mean,
guys always have so many ankle issues, and especially his career was so long, and especially with all the playoff runs that he made throughout it and being so dominant. But he did his own thing. He played to his own drum always, so he had the low tops out there. Very
and
cool.
They haven't cracked or anything, so they're still a nice condition.
Nice condition. And we'll just transition from those to another Lakers star who's really synonymous with the sneaker culture and the sneakerheads. These are 2004 Kobe Bryant game-worn and signed Nike Air Zoom Huarache 24Ks with an apparent photo match on these. So one of the Mamba's most famous styles, favorite style. Great look. It's got the Lakers colors, signed by Kobe as well. Size 14. The degree of wear suggests single game use, which is pretty normal for Kobe. He liked to switch it up. But yeah, you can look at the Getty images. We've got what we think is a very good photo match there to the Minnesota Timberwolves game when Kobe dropped 35 on KG. I mean, not all of them right on KG,
but a lot of them.
Some of them, I'm sure. But yeah, unbelievable selection of sneakers in this auction. And I think you've got some interesting ones to talk to.
Just to bring up Colin Kaepernick one more time,
please.
97,500. So that's gone up even more.
Six-figure jersey right there.
My goodness. So yeah, we're talking sneakers, cleats, everything. Bart Starr. Not a lot of Bart Starr items out there to collect.
True.
And there's only a handful of jerseys. They wore them and stripped them, and most of them
just disappeared.
They absolutely just disappeared. We have a pair of game-worn cleats from the early 1960s, which we did find a style match on them. It took quite a while, and I thought I would be able to find one easily. It took a lot of searching, but we did find them. We're in this Spot Built, I believe the name is, of the company. But this has got an incredible story. Basically, Starr gifted these to a football coach who brought a whole bunch of pairs for the players, and the coach ended up keeping the Bart Starrs, which was smart. And there's markings on the inside which match known exemplars of other Packers from the era. So it's got great provenance. There's a letter signed by Starr kind of acknowledging this story. And for a Packer fan, this is kind of this is one of the ones people have autographs of them, but they have a game use piece. Really, really difficult. And here's one from Bart Starr, one of the most popular Packers ever.
That's cool. You don't see many cleats.
You don't.
A legend like that,
and especially with that kind of story to them too.
Speaking of legends,
these I think women's sports is really. I think people are starting to buy more memorabilia, and Serena Williams was, I think, undoubtedly the greatest women's tennis player of all time.
Greatest player of all time.
Unbelievable.
Period,
yeah, I mean, she was just in a whole different class. And these are game used with a letter from Nike, and they are signed by Serena. And there's not a lot of her stuff out there. Occasionally, you'll see maybe a dress.
We've seen huge prices for cards.
Yes, you're
Serena.
Right. That's a good point. It's a very good point.
We had the record for her rookie card last year, but it closely tied to Nike as well.
She was.
Nike just dominant lately in all these fields. Another one that we got the GOAT in our shoes. So very cool to see them. The sharp looking style. And I'd never seen Serena game-worn sneakers before.
No. And I mean, it's got the letter from Nike stating they were used in 2004 at the NASDAQ 100 Open. So it's got everything you could really want. And I think her stuff will start to go up in value just because there's not a lot of her match used material. And this one with the provenance, again, the provenance behind it is really going to help it.
Yeah, definitely. All right, we're going to take another very short break here, and then we're going to come back and talk about some autographs. Tony, what's going on the big board?
I'm going to hit refresh. Let's see.
You don't have to hit refresh. It says that.
I know, but I was like, I feel like I have to. Babe Ruth, cut signature, membership card, $3,900, $20,000 for a 75 Topps wax box. Of course, with the Brett and Yount rookies.
Yes.
Albert Pujols, career home run number 701, $27,000.
Great story on that one. There was a scrum for the ball. The consigner caught it in his drink cup, and we've got the drink cup that he caught it in.
It's funny.
As well.
I saw it in the back, and it was the baseball, and there's a cup. I'm like, what the heck is that? Yeah, and I'm like, what the heck is that doing? What, did somebody just leave that out?
That's what helped him catch it. It went in there, and he was able to cover it. When they're having the scrum.
So he kind of could protect them
for it. So he protected it with the cup. We got the cup. We got the tickets.
Yeah, just unbelievable. It's unbelievable.
All right, we're going to take a short break, and then when we come back, we're going to talk about some autographs, and you've got just over 25 minutes to get your bids in for session 1 before extended bidding begins at 10 p.m. Until then, take a look at this. In the simplest terms, Mickey Mantle was a man of his age. Just as Babe Ruth had personified the decadence of the Roaring '20s, Mantle was emblematic of the American optimism that gave the world Elvis Presley and brightly colored automobiles with tail fins fit for a blue whale. We had won the war and rescued Western civilization, and we felt as if there was no stopping us. America was going big. The ownership at Topps Chewing Gum felt it, and their 1952 issue was audaciously bold. And the set has become a collecting legend, with Mickey Mantle's card number 311, the apex of the card collecting world. This PSA Near Mint, Mint 8, is a stunning example. Condition is remarkably fine, with strong centering, flawless registration, and a gloss that supplies a pack-fresh sheen to the aesthetics. It's the card every collector desires, but only one bidder will lay claim to this gorgeous specimen as it finds a new home on February 25th in our Winter Platinum Night auction. LeBron James' ascension to the professional ranks in 2003 was unquestionably the biggest sports story of that year, sparking a marketing bonanza to rival that of Michael Jordan nearly 2 decades earlier. In the blink of an eye, the son of a struggling single mother in Akron became the hottest commodity on Madison Avenue. The prenatally gifted child, now approaching the end of his Hall of Fame career, LeBron James continues to reign over the collectibles marketplace, and this 2003 Upper Deck Exquisite is his most coveted rookie entry. one of just 23 that exists from the landmark Upper Deck Exquisite issue, it is the crown jewel of the modern marketplace. It contains a game-worn patch from his historic rookie season, featuring all 3 Cavs colors. And the blue Sharpie signature of the icon on the rise rates a perfect 10 from the soon-to-be NBA career scoring leader. Number 12 of the limited 23 created, this Beckett Near Mint Plus example will join a new collection on February 25th in our Winter Platinum Night auction. Unbelievable stuff there, and so many unbelievable items still to go. Session 1 closing tonight. You have till 10 p.m. Central Time to get your bids in. Session 2 is tomorrow night, and we're going to talk some autographs right now. And I'm going to start with this one of the rarest baseball autographs there is. This is a Grover Cleveland Alexander signed Albertype, Type 1 Hall of Fame plaque. Sad figure.
He's a tragic figure. He really truly is.
But he was in the original Hall of Fame inaugural class, the original 11. Brilliant athlete, and just succumbed to his personal demons after leaving the limelight, and ended up with an ignominious death in a Nebraska boarding house in 1950. So 1950, these were issued 47 to 50.
There's a short time period, and it's the one that collectors of the Hall of Fame postcards, this is the one very few people have, because
we're only aware of 4 of them that exist. So impossible to find them. This is the 4th one we've seen. So if you're trying to assemble that complete collection,
good luck. This is the one you're going to need, most likely.
Inaugural class Hall of Famer, 300 wins, a lot of boxes to check, and that is a tough autograph. And even tougher than that autograph, we've been blessed to see so much at our time working here at Heritage, but we've only seen a handful of Shoeless Joe Jackson autographs. Famously, he was illiterate. He did not like to sign. He avoided it at all costs. And this is a great example of how valuable his autograph is. It's just Joe on here on the bottom.
And it's
left.
So labored too. I mean,
Yes,
and it's just
tell.
how his autograph was.
So this was removed from a memo pad used at his Greenville liquor store, which is where he ended up towards the end of his life. But if you're looking for Hall of Fame autographs, good luck finding Shoeless Joe Jackson. You got to take what you can get. And this is a cool one. It's just a Joe, but it has the nice personal story of where it came from. And the few that we've seen, you can always see how labored it was for him to just write his name, which is a really telling part of his story. Yeah.
There's just, Joe Jackson stuff. We've had record prices. We had the Black Betsy. We had the original photo signed by him, the cards, and there's just not many things of his out there. And he's a name that is always going to matter.
Infamous.
Yeah, infamous. Yes, exactly. But he's a name that, he's never going to be lost to time. And just an incredible piece, because there isn't really much as far as autographs of his to even try to collect.
Sure. All right, Tony, what do you got as far as autographs?
Okay, we've got one of the absolute toughest, Christy Mathewson single sign baseball. This, he of course he got sick and with the mustard gas, and then he came back and he was never the same. He did sign some books. Occasionally you'll see a signed book here and there, but to find a single of Mathewson is absolutely just so difficult. And this one here, it's, the M's a little bit tougher because of some saturation, I guess, with the ink pen, but it's a really tough single. And right now, 21,000 for nearly.
We've seen so few. We see so many Hall of Famer signed baseballs, but Mathewson, there's just a handful.
It's just, and he was, one of the first big superstars in the sport, and just unbelievable to find a single. He's just so tough.
All right, what else you got?
All right,
Gambino,
we've got and we've seen a lot of the Babe Ruth stuff go up in value in the last year, 2 years now, and it's been across the board.
The cornerstone of the hobby.
Yeah, I remember when signed cuts were $2,000, $2,500. Now they're $4,000 and $5,000, and this is kind of a cool one. From 1932, as his career was kind of getting towards the end, a team signed sheet, and it's got Ruth, of course, at the top, and then it also has Tris Speaker is on this display as well.
Very nice.
Yeah, really, really cool. And the nice thing is the Ruth autograph is just so deep and dark. Great signature. And like I said, everything of his has really gone up, and I think this one here will do extremely well tomorrow in second session.
Yeah, beautiful display as
Yeah.
well.
Absolutely.
I'm glad you chose this next one. Really interesting item here.
Yeah, this one here, I just 1930 Lou Gehrig handwritten and signed letter. Extremely hard to find. You know, there's a lot of times they would type these, and sometimes the player would sign. But this one here, you know, from Gehrig, and he discusses Ruth in here. Let me see.
The crazy thing about this, he's writing a letter to a grape farmer. So when I first saw this, I read the letter. He's got great handwriting, so you can read it.
Absolutely.
And he requests 2,500 pounds of grapes. So I thought, oh man,
he's making wine.
Gehrig had a winery? I did not know that. How have we never sold a bottle of Gehrig wine? I looked it up. He did not have a winery. He just loved eating grapes. So
that's the secret.
He was going to split these with Ruth. Even that. Grapes right now are good about 3 weeks with our modern
technology,
conveniences and refrigeration. But he's planning on eating over 1,200 pounds of grapes in 3 weeks. That is like my 8-year-old son loves grapes, and he's not even touching that. But maybe that was the secret
to his success.
Longevity. You know, the streak, all that. This is right in the middle of the streak.
But I was also thinking, was this when they weren't talking to each other? Was this kind of like, did they still have that disconnect then?
Famously, one teammate said that they hated each other because Ruth said that Gehrig was a cheapskate, and Gehrig said that Ruth was a show-off, and they were both right. So yeah, there reportedly issues between them, but right here, that's what's cool about it. He says, "Hey, I'm going to split it with the babe."
Yeah, and I mean, how do you top that? It's again, we talked about the DiMaggio and Ruth with the jersey. This one links Ruth and Gehrig somewhat, and it just I thought it was a really cool
hotel letterhead from Boston, so it must have been on a road trip to play the Red Sox, which Yankees Red Sox. Another cool thing about it, and 2 pages of handwritten.
Yeah, exactly, and it's signed by it too.
So it's not on the back. You can display both. A lot of times sides. With these handwritten letters, you get the front and the back. But this one, 2 different pages. So you get the good content, the salutation on the first page, and then a nice autograph on page 2.
Yeah.
All right, let's talk tickets. Tickets have been a big story for the past year. That went from an afterthought in the industry to now some really big prices. It's a great way to collect because it's part memorabilia and part cards almost, because there's population reports and conditions are a factor. And this is the holy grail for hoops collectors when it comes to tickets. 1962 Wilt Chamberlain 100-point game ticket. This is from Hershey, Pennsylvania, and
a double header, I think.
A double header.
That's what's amazing about it.
Less than 4,000 people were there, so not many available, and you just don't see many of this.
No.
Interesting part about this game, it never officially ended because with a few seconds left, he hit the 100-point mark, and the fans rushed the court. And the refs just said, "The hell with it. We're ending the game right here." He could have gotten to 102, maybe. There was about 20 seconds left.
That 100 just sounds so cool, though.
It does.
The referees knew what they were doing by stopping it then.
But displays nicely. It's a yellow ticket, bright yellow example. So very hard to find. That we've only seen a handful of examples come up, even in this rebirth of the ticket industry when these Wilt tickets are getting huge prices.
It's just amazing that they played the game in Hershey, Pennsylvania.
Yeah, so
I mean,
strange.
NBA, and then it just didn't have the same reach that it does now, of course.
Very true.
And then it was played in some not far off place, but it wasn't played in
their home stadium.
Yeah, and in a double header on a Friday night.
We also have the program from that game, which it's crazy because you think a lot of people would have kept the program from when you saw something so historic. But another thing, you just do not see very many of them. Of course, You've got Wilt's picture right on the front, which is great.
That's what
that
makes it so neat.
That doesn't happen a lot on the programs. Usually in this era, you'd have the team or even the owners sometimes is on the front or the coach. But Wilt was just an unparalleled star. So you have him on the front. He looks happy, like he knows he's about to do something that no one had ever done and no one's ever going to do again. So very cool piece. So, and I love that we have the ticket and the program in the same auction, separate lots. So you can get them both tonight.
That'd be a heck of a night.
Yeah. Another great hoops ticket. This is one I had never seen before. This is 1979 Larry Bird NBA debut full ticket. And the reason I had never seen it before, this is one of just two. No.
Yeah.
So only two in the population report. He made his debut, obviously would change the game. Of course, they were playing the Rockets, 114-106 Celtics victory there. Bird had 14 points in 28 minutes, but there's a lot of debut tickets have come out. But when you see a Legends debut, like we've seen huge prices for the Jordan debut tickets, Larry right there in that tier as far as the Hall of Fame, and there's only two known. And this is one here. Also, this was the game where the first three-pointer in NBA history was hit.
Are you serious? I didn't know that.
New rule this year. And
so wait, so Bird's debut was when the first three-point shot was hit?
That's correct.
I did not know that.
Guy who hit it, he just passed recently. We'll get that later to you, that new note later. But yeah, so they said the Celtics players were talking about that before the game because they
want to hit the first
on the
one?
East Coast. Yeah, they were going to have the first.
Oh,
shot
they had the first game of the. Oh,
of
okay,
the
okay.
Season. So
sure.
They had the chance to hit the first three-pointer, and it went down there. 3-point shooting, a big part of Bird's game too. So a nice.
And now
nice
it's everything.
in there.
I did not know
now
that.
it's the whole game.
That's interesting.
And the next great baseball ticket here, we talked about signed cards earlier, signed vintage cards. I love the signed tickets as well, especially from a monumental game or a debut. And it doesn't get much more monumental than this. This is a 1961 Roger Maris signed 61st home run ticket stub. So this ticket was there the day he passed Ruth. And then you've got Maris's autograph on it. One of only two signed in the PSA population. It's a PSA 9 autograph, and Maris's autograph on anything.
Oh yeah,
rare.
because he did mail and everything, but he died in '85, and he never did any of the card shows. He never appeared at a card show, and to get to him towards the end was impossible.
Yes,
and people, they'd send off index cards, they'd send off even cards, they'd try to get baseballs, but people. This was a value.
Nobody
thing.
was sending tickets.
You weren't sending tickets, so somebody was at the game. Maybe they got him at the game, but it's just amazing that there's so few of these out there.
Right, and the Yankees had already locked up the pennant. Great team, that 61 Yankees team.
Yes,
they locked up the pennant 11 days earlier. So even though the home run chase was going on, there was only 23,000 people there at the game. So this ticket's pretty rare just by itself.
In general, it's just rare,
but there's only two Maris signed examples, and this is one. It's currently at 21,000, and I think that's going to go up a few more notches.
That's incredible. That is absolutely incredible.
All right, Tony, what do you got over there?
Okay, let's see. We've got.
Oh, this is a great ticket.
This one here. I
Speaking
mean,
of signed ticket.
When you're talking the absolute, what really saved basketball, Larry Bird and Magic Johnson. As they've reported numerous times, the NBA Finals was on tape delay until these two guys really established themselves. But they met in the NCAA championship game in 1979, and this is one of the very few fulls that has survived. But it's also signed by both, and both autographs are Gem Mint 10. The full ticket is a PSA 4, but it's got a very low population. There's how many? Okay, so there's only two full tickets that are signed by them by Bird and Magic, and this is one. This is the nicer of the two. So this game really was big for NCAA, but also big because it helped the NBA when it was at a very crucial point. So
really
really
what I love about this one, it comes with a photo of Magic signing it, and he was the first one to sign it, and he put the MOP, most outstanding player, on there.
Could you imagine Bird?
Because he knew Bird was going to
He's going to be seeing this at some point. I could just imagine Bird's thoughts going through his mind when he saw that. But
it definitely stuck in Bird's craw, of course, that he lost the championship game, but he also didn't get the most Magic got it all out of that.
Yeah, he absolutely did. And I think this ticket was actually flown to Phoenix for either Bird or Matt. One of them was doing a signing there, and the consignor flew there to get it signed. He didn't want to send it in the mail or have something crazy happen. So he flew in and got it signed during a private signing, of course. But really cool full ticket of these two sports icons.
Indeed. What else you got, Tony?
This one I thought was really, really cool. 1981 Michael Jordan NCAA debut ticket. Now, who would have ever thought to keep this?
Right.
Because nobody knew Michael Jordan was going to be Michael Jordan.
UNC versus Kansas.
So it would have been, it was
blood programs there.
And you just wonder like how many of these are just laying around somewhere that nobody
knocking around
even
in somebody's attic.
Yeah, or they're like
but you're right. It was the beginning of the year. You think people more likely to keep championship games, even just any tournament game. But this was a big game, but it was just a season opener.
Now this is a full ticket, so making it, of course, even better. But there's only two known examples. This being one of them. When you think of Jordan, we've had some Jordan debut tickets from his preseason debut and then his NBA debut. This being his college, for crazy numbers. This is his college debut, and of course, at the end of the season is when he hit the big shot to win the title. Yes. So, kind of a really cool early Jordan UNC piece.
The year he really got put on the national
absolutely
spotlight.
Yes,
that shot
absolutely
was a big part of it, but he was a great player throughout the season as well. Let's talk some photographs, Tony.
I love photographs.
That's one of my favorite genres of the hobby. It's done some big things the last few years, and this is one of the finest baseball photographs that exists. 1915 Babe Ruth photo, Tony.
This one here
GT Murray Studios. It's type 1. And just like his rookie card, you've got him pitching here.
It's so clear, this photo.
Yes.
I mean, it's just perfectly centered, too. I just
action shot. It's almost the same pose on a rookie shot. His foot was kind of wonky, his plant foot. But yeah, beautiful image, and it derives from the Red Sox 1915 visit to Hot Springs, Arkansas. I've been there, Tony.
That's where
training.
That's when it first began, wasn't it? Yes. I mean, it was like one of the first years.
So Ruth's major league career was 4 games old at that point, with 23 innings on the mound and 2 base hits at the plate. No home runs when this photo was taken. That's how early it is. And photos from that minuscule service to the 1914 edition of the Bo Sox, virtually unknown. This 1915 preseason image is just a handful of Major League uniform photos of Ruth that predate his first home run, which he hit on May 6, 1915.
It's a great action shot, but I just absolutely love that he's pitching, and I think it's the nicest Ruth rookie photograph I've ever seen. I mean, and of course, there's not many of them out there, but this one here, when I saw it, I'm like, oh my goodness.
Yeah, when you get to see it in person up close, the clarity is unreal from something that was taken over 100 years ago.
I know.
Over 100 at this point.
And like I've said before, those slabs are beautiful.
Yes.
I'm a huge fan of the slabs.
All right, next, Cobb photo. Another big genre of the photo collecting community is images that were used for cards. Which there are some of those that still exist. And this is one, 1908 to 09 Ty Cobb PSA Type 1 original photo. And this one was used for several of his candy cards. It's a great image of Cobb. It was used on his E92 Crofts Candy, the E102 set of 25, the E105 Mellow Mint, an issue I really like, really rare issue. And the E106 American Caramel issues. And it's just a great image of Cobb leaning on his bat, cocky as hell. He's got this smug look on his face, which I love.
Before a game, it looks like, because there's some fans in the stands, but it's not completely full yet.
Yeah, great background. You can see some of the fans. You can see some of the fields. And it's just a very recognizable image of Cobb if you know those early Candy issues, which of course a lot of collectors do, those are some issues that have some very fervent followers and collectors. So this one's cool because we've sold a lot of great photos that were used for one issue. Like we have a Jackie Robinson photo that was used for his 53 tops in this auction. And but this is one that was used for a handful of issues. So.
And it's so hard to find those early images too. It's hard to find that early photography. And I mean, that's an absolutely great Cobb.
It's crazy that both of those still exist. Those images.
I know. Just a couple bids coming in here.
Yeah,
the Brett Favre Bounty Gate, 17,500. That one's seen some pretty good action. The Albert Pujols, 701 home run baseball, 35,000.
Very nice.
So that one's made a big jump up. Ty Cobb Old Mill, 39,000. Willie Mays player contract with addendum, 15,000. So, you know, we're starting to see
like those
things.
Contracts with the addendum.
I know.
The extra things.
Yeah, and they're fun to look at and just see some of the weird things, you know, that they had in some of those contracts,
especially back in the day. So speaking of early photos, what if I told you, Tony, that we have the first team photo of the Yankees in this auction?
Tell me more about this.
Yes.
Is this when they were this is when they were the Yankees?
So this is 1913 New York Yankees original news photograph by the great George Grantham Bain, one of the greatest.
That's one of the big
time.
Names, absolutely.
It's a Type 1. This was taken spring training, their first team photo of 1913, the first year they switched to the Yankees from the Hilltop, the Highlanders.
Highlanders, okay.
Yes, so this is the first Yankees team photo that was ever taken.
That's
right here.
Crazy.
The thing I love about it is it's a totally casual photo. You know, a lot of times the team photos, especially in this era, they're all lined
There's
up.
no mascot or anything, like a dog anywhere.
No, they do have the Bat Boy there in the middle.
That's before Eddie. Before Eddie Bennett.
Applesauce soccer pose there. But you know, at this time, photography is still in its infancy. Getting your picture taken was a big deal. It was usually very formal, and you can see in a lot of the early team photos we sell, they're all lined up. You've got the guys sitting in the front, and the guys on their knees, then the guys standing behind them. But this one's just, it looks like a photo you'd take today where you just have them all there and you're like, everybody hold still, look over here. I love that. It is so rare, and there's some great details in this one. The jackets. I mean,
those jackets are so cool.
You've got the old-timey hats as well with the short bill. You've got some possibly staff in the back in the stands getting into the photo. The one guy with the bowler hat. But amazing clarity on these as you look at their faces. And the thing is, a lot of times when people were taking photos back then, it was so serious, you know, and a big occasion, they're not smiling.
Yes, I've seen that all too often on baseball photos.
But there's a lot of smiles in this one, and just a lot of, you know, camaraderie, relaxing, great team photo here. Of course, all the normal people are dressed in their finest. You would never
those
see
jackets.
You would never see that in spring training. Somebody in a suit nowadays, but love it. There's a guy in pinstripes as well, which of course was new to the Yankees that year as well. So amazing photo right there. One of the best Yankee team photos we've seen.
Some really good bids come in. 1919 White Sox original photo, 3,900. 52 Mantle PSA 8, 875,000. 100,000 on the 1960 Ted Williams game used bat. So and 1989 Griffey Jr. 24,000. Which I think it's a Cooper bat too, which is very rare. Yes, it just sets it apart.
All right, Tony. Great pick here. I'm a big fan of this photo, and I want to hear why you love it so much.
Okay, Marilyn Monroe. It's an early Marilyn Monroe photograph, but most of the time when she signed, she would personalize it. Mm-hmm. And that is just standard. You rarely see her signature where it's not personalized, especially on a photograph. This one here, it's just so cool because it's a PSA 10 autograph. And if she signed it, I mean, right in the middle, and she just put "My very best wishes, Marilyn Monroe." Probably the nicest signed 8x10 photograph that I've ever seen from her. And when, you know, and kind of in the early stages of her career.
It was right after she changed her name.
Yes.
47.
And it's just such a great photo. And again, without the personalization, which you commonly see, and also a PSA 10 grade autograph. So
I'm impressed, Tony, that you went through all that and didn't mention bikini with high heels at all. It's an important part of it too.
No, the autograph.
She's still one of the biggest icons of Hollywood.
She is.
She just holds this special place that isn't going anywhere. And this is very early photo and autograph for her, right after she changed her name from Norma Jean. It's dated on the back, I believe, 47 by someone else. But a gorgeous autograph. Another one where placement is everything.
Yes,
she put it in
absolutely.
a great spot. Fit it all in there right on the podium that she's sitting on, or the platform. That's an amazing.
And then whoever had this took such good care of it too, which is
it's in
you
great
you don't
shape.
usually see them in this kind of condition. So
that got
really,
a lot of
really
attention in our display
Yes.
this week. Guys in shipping especially were really all over that. I guess they love autographs. This one is tomorrow night in session 2, but while we were talking photos, I definitely wanted to talk about it. In our last auction, we sold the glove Mike Tyson wore in his first bout.
Did he throw it in the crowd or something?
Threw it in the crowd, and our consignor who caught it went up and got him to sign it. I love that story because I don't think I'd have the guts to walk up to Mike Tyson immediately after a bout. You know, especially you get all amped up and got all the adrenaline going, all the training you've done, and then it's over in a minute and a half. He's still got a lot of
He's still got some energy there.
But he said he was very accommodating. He was really exciting. So this photo is from 1985, and it's his professional debut original photo in the locker room before that fight. You've got Iron Mike prepping. He's getting taped up. His first bout was versus Hector Mercedes, March 6th, 85 at the Empire State Plaza Convention Center in Albany, New York. You ever seen a fight there, Tony?
I have not seen a fight there.
I have not. Not many have, but yeah, it was a first round TKO. Interesting about that, the final knockdown was a gut punch to the body, which you don't see too often. But Tyson had that kind of power where he could put you on the floor wherever he hit you. And this photo was once part of the personal collection of Jimmy Jacobs, who was Tyson's manager at the time. But it's just an amazing photo that Costamato's in.
I mean,
he's taping him up.
It's like a father-son. I mean, that was basically Tyson's father.
And it's thrown around a lot, but the phrase "calm before the storm" certainly applies here with he was just about to go out and rock Hector.
Yeah.
And here he is. You can see he's kind of glistened. He'd already, warmed up, punching in, and he's just getting ready to go into the ring, taping up his hands. And it's real still. You can see some of his entourage there lounging around. They look cool as well.
There couldn't have been a lot of photographers there.
No.
Tyson couldn't have been that big of a
somebody
deal.
they brought in. It was not press. There was no way.
No, there's no way they would have had. They would have had.
So this is somebody they had there, or perhaps the event had a photographer who was taking images.
Yep.
But beautiful image of Tyson at the very beginning of his career. Love that photo.
Yeah, I mean, I love that it's getting taped up, and Custamato is there too. That to me, both of them together. Yeah, just
only ears that size could hold glasses that big.
It's a great shot. New discovery, I would say.
Yes, great one. The aura, the ambiance, it's incredible. All right, Tony, we're going to take one more quick break. We just moved into extended bidding. So what's going on in extended bidding right now?
Bounty Gate jersey, $23,000. Ted Williams bet $115,000. Mantle, the 51 Bowman signed Mantle, $97,500. Jordan Olympic sneakers, $57,500. Kaepernick, $120,000.
Wow.
That is incredible.
Important jersey.
It is. That is, I guess it just shows us that the game used jersey market is really strong right now.
Indeed. All right, we're going to take a quick break, and then we're going to talk about some more items coming up.
To play, you're holding a piece of what I was wearing in that history.
Right.
You can't have me. You can't have those 10 other guys on that field. And when you look at that play, that's not just me. That's the defense. So we were just getting there like a step too late all night. You know, it seemed like we get there, and just as he was throwing the ball, we hit him. Right after he threw the ball, we hit him. And he was just reading the defense, getting the ball off. And we had 17 seconds left. And I remember thinking, we're in the max blitz. I need to step so that this tackle will step to me so Timmons can get through free on the inside. And he couldn't hold the ball, because what I'm going to do is I'm going to drop and I'm going to play for the quick slant in. They don't have any timeouts left. They got to go for the end zone. And that was the closest thing that I could affect. It was either a slant, a corner, something like that into the end zone. And dude, I dropped. I could see it right now. Just I'm looking at you. I'm looking at Kurt. And I'm thinking
And Kurt's looking at you.
And I'm thinking he's looking at me. And then he throws the ball. And that's why I catch the ball like this, because I'm so surprised that he actually threw the ball. So as soon as I catch the ball, in my head, I'm like, I'm gone. They're not about to catch me. So it seems like I'm fighting with Giese for like 20 seconds. I'm like, dude, get the hell away from me. Go block somebody. I look up. No, it's not about to happen. So we end up just keep running. Guys go to throwing blocks, because that's what we did in practice. You got some guys that threw multiple blocks. And we bust through Kurt and whoever.
Are you worried about getting out of about
No,
accidentally stepping
I'm
out
not
of
thinking
bounds?
about that now.
No.
And because right then and there, I'm thinking I'm not going to make it through this. They go tackle me. And
Right.
somehow,
If they do, times run out, and that's
whatever,
Yeah.
they didn't score. So somehow I make it through that. And when I make it through that, I'm like, oh, shit, I'm about to make it. And then I see a lineman on the side of me. I'm like, yo, I'm not going to make it. Where's these dudes coming from, right? Get past him. I believe it is Giese that comes back and cracks on him. And then the running back is coming, and I think Woodley blocks him, and that's where I jump over Woodley. And now I'm like, dude, it got to be like 45 seconds. Then ran out. The clock is dead. I'm like, I got to make it. I got no other choice now.
Right.
And as I'm running, it's like another lineman there. Like they got the Carl Lewis lineman on this team, right? And I'm running, and I just start like kicking my feet as high as I can when he dives, so that he doesn't trip me up. Right. So when he missed, I'm like, I'm in scot-free. But I'm actually looking this way to see if somebody else is coming. And that's when Fitzgerald comes in from out of bounds, and he hits my chest. All he had to do was hit the ball.
right.
It would have fell out. But when he hit my chest, it gave me time to recognize he was there. I covered the ball. He went to try and rip the ball then, but I'd already covered it. Right. And he slides down. I fall down on top of his legs, and we roll into the end zone after Breaston hits me in the back. So.
Great stuff there.
Oh
from
my
the
God,
incredible James Harrison.
His recollection is so good, and he's another one of the guys that kind of changed the game. Football from such a hard-hitting sport to now being a little more,
he
a little
is
tamer.
Very intimidating. In fact, there's the ball right there.
Yes,
that he caught on that play, the immaculate interception. We have the jersey and ball and some other great gamers from James Harrison. We'll talk about that in a little bit. That's tomorrow night in session 2.
All with great provenance too.
Yeah, directly from the man himself, who was sitting right in this room talking about it not too long ago. Tony, you got a few cards.
Yeah, I got some cool cards that I love this 55 Topps All-American set. It is the rookie card of so many of the early football stars, and I know a book about Jim Thorpe was just written about 8 months ago, and kind of brought him back into everybody's mind again, I guess. But the 1955 Topps All-American Jim Thorpe, near mint to mint, 8.5, gorgeous card. It's got everything. I love the football stadium background. Of course, he's in his Carlisle uniform, and 8.5, 11,500 right now. I love the 55 Topps All-American set, and this is, of course, one of the top cards from that set. Not a lot of Jim Thorpe anything out there to collect, and this, as far as cards, is probably the one. And another one, the 84 star basketball set, of course, with Michael Jordan on the front.
True rookie? Is that what we're saying?
It is the true rookie, and now that PSA has graded it's starting to grade these, it's gonna open up the market for these quite a bit, I think. For so long, people were so scared of them. Now with PSA grading them, this is Jordan's true rookie. 2 years his
Yeah.
true Rick,
All it
his
has is
true rookie.
college stats on the back.
Exactly, and
But
and
that's how
this
you do a
one
rookie
is
card right
this
there.
one is really nicely centered because typically a lot of times they'll be off center left to right, whereas this one is centered really nicely. And you know, I think this one is starting to really gain a lot of momentum, being his quote true rookie. So really cool Jordan early career in the bag, and these were produced in very small quantities, so not a lot of them off the bat.
Suggested, we believe the production was 5,000 or
Mm-hmm.
less. So when you're talking about the 86 Fleer, where there's the Jordan, there's over 310. This is far rarer and far earlier.
Yeah, 2 years.
And PSA is grading them now.
Yep.
So there you go.
So really cool on that card.
Speaking of rare cards,
What
this
do we
next
got?
one is a 1956-57 Boston Celtics team issue, Bill Russell. That's right. I said 56. This predates his 57 Topps rookie card. This is the first card issued for Bill Russell. When our consignor messaged me on Twitter about it and asked what it was worth, this is the only known example. It is the only one that exists.
Tough to put a number on that.
Yeah, in any population report. Great image, oversized of Bill Russell in the Celtics uniform, and it comes with the original mailing envelope. It came in really incredible. The consignor had some more from the set, which are also in the auction. You can check those out tomorrow as well. But Bill Russell, one of the greatest players, the greatest winner in NBA history. I'm just going to go out on that limb. I don't think
in all sports
too
history.
fair. Yeah.
Him and John Wood, maybe. I don't know.
And this is where it all started. And I'll say this. I like this image better than the image on his 57 Topps rookie card.
Yeah, this is cleaner.
Which is a legendary card, of course.
Yeah.
But I like this image. He's dribbling. It's a big, oversized image. You can see top to bottom, even his Converse there as well. And the only one known. So with that, we're always excited to see where they end up. It's at 2,500 right now, but who knows what it could go for. It's the only one we know.
Yeah, no, I mean early Russell too. It's just so hard to find stuff. 89 Griffey bat, 28,000 right now.
Wow.
68 Mantle, Gem Mint 10, 390,000.
Jeez,
It's unbelievable.
So that we'd been talking recently about non-rookie Hall of Famer cards doing so well. We saw some amazing results for mid-career
Clemente last in the
month.
January sale.
So then you've got the 68 Topps Mantle, which that's the end of his career, his last card. It's a beautiful card, but it's approaching $500,000 with the BP. And then we also have the 68 Topps Aaron in there. It's a
Gem Mint 10 too, isn't it?
Yes.
Yeah.
And it is a huge price right now as well. Like we talked about, there's some new blood, new people coming into the hobby, and they can kind of eschew what common hobby practices are and put their money into things they think are different, are interesting, how they want to collect. That's the fun part about it.
Colin Kaepernick, 130,000.
Wow. Massive number for that. Great number for this one. This is the 61 Fleer Wilt Chamberlain rookie, one of the most well-known rookies. And this is just a beautiful example, PSA Near Mint 8. Hard to find. And this one here, a beauty. Colors are so bright on this. I was looking at it yesterday. Great registration, really sharp cornering, and the centering's just about as perfect as
I was going to say, the centering on those is just so notoriously tough.
Yeah,
it's just,
and this one's really,
you almost
really
expect
fine
it to be off
example.
center, and that one is just gorgeous.
And then this past weekend, Tiger's back, so we have to talk some Tiger. This is the 01 Upper Deck SP Authentic Tiger Woods Star autograph. PSA Gem Mint 10 with a 10 autograph from the greatest to ever take the links. Only 900 were made. This is number 309. So twin 10s for Tiger there on this one. And, not a lot of great issues for golf, but this is one of them. Great image of Tiger on it. Nice spot for the autograph, and he gave us a 10 autograph on it as well. I love the look of determination on Tiger.
Well, I'm pretty sure Upper Deck wouldn't have gotten into golf hadn't they signed Tiger for Upper Deck Authenticated, and then that brought us golf cards. It really had, because
and
previously
golf had
there wasn't
really
much.
Struggled. There just wasn't great issues. There's some decent one in the 80s with Nicholas.
Yeah, I think
and
Donruss
those
made 2
guys.
years and made sets, but after that,
But this,
there
no
wasn't much.
high quality premium golf issues until this one. This was the first one right here. Gorgeous example, too.
It was Colin Kaepernick 135.
Still going.
Still going. And the Babe Ruth rookie era photograph, 280,000.
Wow.
So just
Mammoth number for
yeah.
a photo. We set the record in August for a sports photo at 500,000. And beautiful image of Ty Cobb. If
the
something-
Babe is
if something's
on the
going to take
warpath.
down that image, it's got to be a Babe Ruth photo
Yeah.
or Jackie Robinson, perhaps. So this is one that has a chance.
I think so. Yeah, a lot of action right now.
All right, Tony, should we talk some championship rings? We just had the Super Bowl.
Let's do it. What do we got up first?
Oh, I think it's Super Bowl related.
Yes.
In fact.
Kansas City Chiefs. I think just such a nice looking ring. It's not over the top. And because of the Chiefs colors, that red incorporated into this design, I think it's just such a gorgeous, gorgeous ring. 2019 Kansas City Chiefs Super Bowl championship. This is the Type A ring, so this is the one that the players received, and just a gorgeous ring. Like I said, it's not over the top, but it is classy. I'll say that
It's pretty classy for this era.
it is
ring, I'll
absolutely,
say.
and this would be Pat Mahomes' first Super Bowl title. Right now, 38,000, and I think that this thing will go up a bit more because, of course, with the Chiefs now, people are starting to talk dynasty.
Yes.
And is it a dynasty? Well, they have the quarterback.
They're going to have to win next year for me to classify it.
Yeah, I would say that too.
You got to have at least two in a row.
Yeah, if
if
you're
you
going to
have them
say that,
separated.
yeah.
The thing I like about this, we see a lot of championship rings. We're lucky, not because we've won a lot of championships. Tony and I, we're sitting on 0, but because of the job. And I always like what the teams decide to do to signify what's important to them.
I love when the new rings come out. I always love to
And
see how
this
different
ring
things
has that Chiefs ring. So the 50 diamonds that surround the rubies and logos signify the years between championships, while the 16 custom cut rubies are the sum of AFC West Division titles, 10, and appearances under head coach Andy Reid, 6. The 122 diamonds around the top edges recognize the NFL centennial and the team's 22 playoff appearances. So you look at these rings and there's diamonds
Special
and
meaning to-
rubies everywhere, and it wasn't just cram as many on there as you can. There was a plan in
Yep.
place.
There's a reason behind it. Joe DiMaggio just got hit. 1948 game-worn jersey, 430,000.
Wow.
So, boy, that's probably the nicest DiMaggio I've ever seen. Bountygate, 27,000. Let's see. Okay.
Come on, Tony. you got
Kaepernick,
another ring there?
135. I've got one more ring. When you think of Robert Parrish, you do think of the Boston Celtics, but at the end of his career, he did go to the Bulls, give them a little bit of presence from the bench, a little bench
Holds the record
presence.
for games played.
Does he?
Yeah.
I did not know that. Solid career, backup center. The Chief. Yeah, just one of the all-timers. And right now, 39,000. And you look at kind of back then the NBA rings weren't too crazy. And this one,
Fifth one, the second to last dance.
yeah. Now I do like the design with the emblem, just chock full of diamonds,
Very
and
cool.
and it's one of the top 50 players, no less, too. So you get that, and we sold the Horace Grant for 111,000. We had some of his. We had Scott Williams, Robert Parrish. So
There
some
you go.
really good Bulls rings.
And guess what? You're not getting Robert Parrish's Celtics championship.
I don't think you will.
No. So this is what you got to get.
Yep.
This next one, I had to pull out a vestige of my youth here. It's the 1995 Dallas Cowboys Super Bowl 30 championship ring. Sadly, the last Super Bowl ring for the Cowboys.
There's always next
to
year,
date.
Mike.
I was 14 when they won that, and I was like, we're just going to do this every
Every
year,
year.
right? It's that easy. Didn't happen, but this is the one that clinched the dynasty. It is a player ring from defensive tackle Darren Benson. Nice star design. And, when you're talking, they've had some playoff woes lately, but the Cowboys are one of the flagship teams. And it's their last championship ring. It's a nice style ring. My favorite of the 3 from the 90s for the Cowboys, which I've been lucky to see all 3 here in our offices at one point. But yeah, great example, and another player ring. And this next ring is wild. 1965 Green Bay Packers NFL championship ring presented to
Paul Hornung.
Paul Hornung. How about that? Talk about gorgeous design. Now, this is way back in the day. They're not as ostentatious. We've sold a few of those early Super Bowl rings, and a lot of them are, I think this is where they really got the style of how these things should look. It has the one big diamond in the middle, but just such a classy look, and letter of provenance from Paul Hornung right there.
What I like about that is that's the first of their 3 championships.
Yes.
And that was, I know Vince Lombardi, that was the big thing after Super Bowl I was to get that 3rd in a row. And that's the first one from arguably probably the biggest player on the team.
Yes.
Paul Hornung, who was, the golden boy and all that. But these rings were rarely ever have surfaced, and it's one of the nicest that I've seen.
And a lot of times when the player rings come out, it's somebody you've never heard of. Like that Cowboys ring.
Yep.
Huge Cowboy fans didn't know who Darren Benson was. But Paul Hornung, that's just
I've heard of him.
Bragging rights in your collection right there. And then this next one, it's a salesman sample, but what a salesman sample. So this is a 1985 Refrigerator Perry Super Bowl 20 salesman sample ring. Now, several years ago, we sold the ring he was actually awarded for $268,000, which was the record for a Super Bowl ring, until we broke that in August with the Colts Super Bowl V ring at $300,000. So this is the salesman sample version, but it's gigantic. We estimate it's size 22, but our ring sizer only goes to size 18. It is the largest ring ever created as far as ring size, and 85 Bears, beloved team, of course in Chicago, but that's a team everybody loved. A lot of characters, and the fridge was one of the biggest in every way.
He was a national story.
You could take that word. Great design on the ring. They kept it very simple. And, like the Cowboys now, they've had decades to work on that design. We'll see what they come up with next. A lot of time to work on it. But it's crazy how big it is. You can fit 2 fingers in it.
Yeah. Just that a human being would wear something
Yes.
that size is just hard to imagine.
All right, Tony, let's talk some Griffey.
Yeah, there's a couple really
Griffey
cool
Jr.
pieces. Yes, Griffey Jr. Sorry. We've got a 1989 bat. It's a Cooper bat. So usually when you think of him, you think of H&B, Hilliard and Bradsby. This was really early in his career, 1989, and we talked about it before, but it's got that crisscross zigzag tape on the handle and a vintage autograph, which I think is really, really neat.
Love that.
He doesn't do a lot of autograph signings, but this one is one of the early ones, and it's graded a 9.5. So you've got an early Griffey. As his career, as he became so popular, you'll see more of his bats. But this one is right at the beginning of his career. So that's making it so significant. And the next piece, when this came across my desk, I just was floored that somebody had the wherewithal to keep it. 1990, the Griffey Jr. and Sr. hit back-to-back home runs. We sold the ticket.
This is a great piece.
Yeah, when I saw this, and I was like, no way. And then I had to look it up just to make sure. I'm like, okay, are we sure this is? Because, and this was taken from the dugout. And the cool thing about this is there's a piece of athletic tape on the top. And that's what they taped. They would literally take a piece of athletic tape and put it on the scorecard and then tape it to the dugout. You can still see where that tape is. And that's the day Ken Griffey Senior and Junior hit back-to-back home runs, of course, becoming the first father-son to hit home runs in the same game. And you can see Griffey Senior's second, and then Junior was batting third in the lineup with Harold Reynolds as the leadoff hitter. Just a really cool piece of baseball history there. And, very few tickets. Well, this is technically a one of one, which was in the dugout that fateful night.
Because you'll see sometimes the teams will sell replicas of the dugout cards.
Absolutely. Very good call.
But this is the actual one. And we get inquiries all the time that say, I have the dugout card, but it's always those replicas that you got in the shop. This one was in the dugout.
The actual one. It's amazing.
All right. Great piece of baseball history here as well. 2022, just last year, Albert Pujols' career home run, 701 baseball, when he became the 4th member of the 700 home run club. So this happened September 30th, 2022, right at near the end of the season. They were playing the Pittsburgh Pirates, and he hit it into the middle deck. We have the distance in here, 398 feet. So a smash there for home run 701. The interesting thing about this, our consigners are a couple who consigned it. There was kind of a scrum for the ball, and they used their cup their empty cup from their drink to help put it in there, secure it. They consigned their tickets from the game, the cup, and the straws that were in there. It has the notarized letter of provenance that MLB does. It has the MLB stamping on it. Pujols, just a beloved figure and one of the greatest players ever. So getting a home run ball from him from his last season.
He had such a great ending to his career. He really had such a great ending. It was amazing.
Storybook.
Yeah. I mean, for a few years,
he got to 700,
and nobody thought he was going to get there.
Tough. It was going to be tough, but he did it.
Nobody thought he was going to make it. And he did.
Another great ball here. The game used ball's provenance is always key to it.
It's everything.
We get a lot of inquiries and people say, I caught this ball, but we can't sell something unless we're 150% sure it's legit. And that doesn't always happen. We got that with the Pujols ball. We got that with this one. This is a 1966 Frank Robinson. We're giving Frank Robinson as much pub as we can.
As he's had in years.
Should be. World Series Game 4 championship clinching home run baseball. How about that? A World Series home run clincher right there in Game 4. One of the greatest seasons in Major League Baseball history in 1966. He was just dominant that year. Joe talked about it earlier. He led the league in average at 316, home runs with 49, RBIs at 122, got the Triple Crown and the MVP, and they won the World Series.
Yeah, that's a pretty good year.
Yeah, he won it with a solo shot off of fellow future Hall of Famer Don Drysdale. That would be the only run scored in the 4th and final game of that sweep of the Dodgers. And this is the ball right here. Here it is, consigned by Fred Mueller, who was seated in the 32nd row of the left field bleachers at Baltimore Memorial Stadium that day when it came to rest after its long championship clinching flight. Mueller told us that he attempted to track down Robinson in the chaos of the postgame celebration to get an autograph, but he wasn't able to breach the clubhouse perimeter. Tony, you've done that many times. He could have used your time to do that.
I've never made it in.
But a couple days
Still
later,
trying, though.
when he returned to college, he left the ball with his mother, who tracked down Robinson's home address and knocked on his door with the ball in hand, and got the autograph from him there.
Wow. That's
stories about it in the local newspaper about that happening. So great period provenance on the ball. There's an image of him holding it. It's got the stamping on it. Just a huge piece of history. And like Joe was talking about earlier, Frank Robinson should be way bigger in the pantheon of baseball. This is one of the greatest seasons in baseball history, and he ended it with a home run.
Yeah, that's the way to end a storybook season, isn't it?
Yeah, it sure is. Incredible piece, and the great provenance of the story. You get all the newspaper photos and all the documentation as well with that.
A couple bids. 1953, Willie Mays, SGC 9, $300,000.
Wow.
LeBron James, the high school shoes, $85,000.
There we go.
Kaepernick, $145,000. Ty Cobb, the Ty Cobb photo you were talking about, $30,000. So a lot of the really, really high-end pieces are starting to get those. And we got 10:29, so we've got 1 minute left. So some of those clocks are getting right down to the end, and I'm sure the wheels are spinning on some of the the bidders.
Right,
yep.
All right, let's hit a couple more, Tony, and then we'll call it a night. But great hockey item you pulled that.
Yeah, Wayne Gretzky game used Edmonton Oilers gloves, and these are photo matched as well, which is, for Gretzky, it's so crazy because I mean, there's so many collectors out there, but you almost need to have that photo match to really get the true value on this. And these are photo matched to the Stanley Cup Finals, 1984-85. I'm sorry, to the Stanley Cup playoffs, 1984-85, at the absolute peak of his career. This one's got everything you could want. It's Edmonton Oilers, photo match, Gretzky, right now, 24,000.
Hockey gloves are woefully underappreciated.
They are.
They've got their hand. That's where the magic happens.
You're right.
With the goal scoring in the hands. These are what cover them. It should be like baseball gloves. They're a very personal item.
Yep.
How they feel, at that level, millimeters determine if the puck goes in. So
yes.
How the gloves feel, all that, and to have Gretzky's
and these were used for they were used for an extended period of time too. These things, these gloves, they didn't wear them for a little while. They wore these, used them for quite a while. So yeah, and anything Gretzky from, especially when he was winning Stanley Cups, really cool piece.
All right, Tony, let's talk about this helmet.
Yeah, I saw this
piece.
one.
Very
I saw one of our authenticators was looking at it, and the Raider fans are some of the most passionate fans there are in the world, and especially for football fans. I mean, there's a lot of Raider collectors. Hard to find really good, high quality Raider stuff. This Marcus Allen 89-90. Photo match to 5 games.
Wow.
And
and you can tell from the wear.
Yeah, it's got great use, consistent wear, which is what we love to see. And I mean, this helmet, I mean, it's so hard to find period photos and things matching up, because a lot of times after the season they'd clean the helmets up a little bit. They'd sometimes move decals, and makes it really, really tricky. But this year, as far as a Marcus Allen Raiders piece, is going to be one of the finest there is. And $82.50 right now. But when you can say photo match, this thing could go for $15,000, $20,000. Wouldn't shock me, at least.
Gorgeous piece.
Mm-hmm. Really cool.
And another great one. I remember when this jersey came in, and then when we got it photo matched, how unbelievable.
The JJ Watt.
The JJ
Watt. This one here, back in that time period, you didn't, guys weren't wearing multiple jerseys. He would wear one, and he wasn't, he was a big deal, but he wasn't JJ Watt, 3-time defensive player of the year type thing. This year,
he was kind of an underling on the squad.
He was,
at the beginning of his career. He was a transfer.
He went to Central Michigan, was a tight end, and we always wanted to play for the Badgers. He's from an hour away from Madison, and he did not have a scholarship to go so he walked on at UW, and I mean, he's 6'5", so I mean, I guess but yeah, I mean, a little bit easier, but walked on. And of course became JJ Watt, and this one's photo matched to all 7 home games. So
wow,
really cool piece for a NFL fan or Badger fan. 10,500. A lot of movement on this jersey the last 2 hours.
All right, I'm going to talk about couple jerseys here. Then let's talk about James Harrison.
All right,
afterwards.
Mr. Harrison, I promise I'll do a good job talking about your material.
Better be careful.
Yes,
he could still play. In fact, I wouldn't mind the Cowboys signing him to beef up their linebacking core. Great one here. One of the finest Cowboy jerseys that have come through our doors. We've seen some great ones. Not a huge name, but a Super Bowl jersey. So this is a 77-78 Robert Newhouse game-worn Cowboys jersey, photo match to Super Bowl 12 versus the Denver Broncos.
I mean, photo match up and down. I mean, this thing was when this just came in, there was like 30 pages of notes and photos and photo matches, and it was like, and you can see the orange from the Broncos.
At least 12 team repairs on
this.
At least. I counted about 15 personally. But just battered, one of the hardest hitting fullbacks in the game at the time.
When that position was very important.
Yeah, he was blocking for Dorsett. But what's interesting about this is so in the late in the game, the Cowboys are leading 20-10 in the fourth quarter. Tom Landry calls brown right formation, X opposite shift, toss 38, halfback lead, fullback pass to Y, which I'm sure Newhouse, who is mostly a blocking back, although he had 50 yards in the game, rushing himself, said, what, I'm going to throw a pass in the Super Bowl? He did, and he threw a 29-yard touchdown pass to Golden Richards, and that was the final score of the game. It put it away for the Cowboys, essentially the first touchdown pass by a running back in Super Bowl history right there in this jersey. Huge win for the Cowboys in 77 there. Great season for them. Newhouse, a beloved player in Dallas. You know how those fullbacks are, just like Moose Johnston was in the 90s. Those fullbacks in the 70s and 80s were just beloved by the teams, doing the dirty work, and Newhouse was one of the best at it. So his Super Bowl jersey definitely has a ton of regular season wear too, no doubt at all. But photo match to that Super Bowl. Great piece there. Love it.
Yeah.
Another great football jersey here. 2004, Larry Fitzgerald. That's right, 04, rookie season. Larry Fitzgerald, rookie game-worn Cardinals jersey. A great Cardinals look from that era, just the all red and white, very simple. One of the greatest receivers to ever put on a jersey, and this came from his rookie season. Great note about Larry Fitzgerald, who I'm a big fan of. It's also got the rookie autograph there, vintage autograph. Larry Fitzgerald has more tackles than drops in his career.
I knew he had good hands. I didn't know he had.
Yeah, so
Wow.
one of the greatest hands ever. So a lot of catches in this jersey, but probably no drops, I'm guessing. I think he had 21 drops his entire career, which is unreal. But incredible jersey, great wear on it, and from the rookie season. And he signed it his rookie year, so the rookie autograph, and he put his season stats on there. 58 catches, 780 yards, 8 TDs, and put 04 rookie season.
When you think of his longevity, I mean, he was around for so long. And that was the first time I remember a wide receiver when he went to that Super Bowl against the Steelers, where a wide receiver literally took over a game.
Yes.
And usually wide receivers, it's hard for them to dominate to the extent that he did. And I can't remember seeing that ever happen again, where a guy just dominated and just took over. It was amazing. It was amazing.
He had a big game in that 06 Super
He
Bowl.
did. He would have been
where Harrison did. He almost caught Harrison on the immaculate interception and almost had the game-winning touchdown in the fourth quarter.
Yeah, he went about 65, 70 yards, and then he's looking up at the.
That was the first time I saw a player watching on the scoreboard to look for the defenders trying to catch him.
And he would have been the MVP of the game too.
Yes. All right, one more jersey for me, and then we're going to talk some James Harrison. You might be asking, Mike, why did you bring up this 1922 Ole Olsen Detroit Tigers jersey? Well, a few reasons. A, it's over 100 years old gamer. I love that. You can just feel it when you touch it, the history. Classic Detroit Tigers logo there with the Old English.
I was going to say, is that the Old English font? Dripping
with history. But in his rookie season, there's a great anecdote about this jersey from 1922. So he pitched against Babe Ruth that season, and he told the story in 1976. Ole Olsen did.
This is good.
The iconic slugger came to the plate as the go-ahead run in a 4-2 game and tried to rattle the young rookie by calling him, quote, an SOB, unquote, and warning him to, quote, throw the ball and duck, unquote. Olsen responded in kind, calling Babe Ruth, quote, a big baboon, and then struck out Babe Ruth. So great story from a rookie pitcher going toe-to-toe with Babe Ruth there. Love that story.
Oh, my goodness. I did not know. See, we all learned something tonight.
So a great road gray. I mean, any gamer from baseball, it's over 100 years old. That's one of those flagship franchises. Is just a great piece, but I love that story, and I had to tell that.
Yeah, that's pretty good. I didn't know. I remember
Big
when
baboon.
that came in.
It's a great insult for Ruth. All right, Tony. We have some great collections in this auction, headlined by legendary linebacker James Harrison's collection. What can you tell us about it?
Yeah, round one of his collection I thought was really substantial.
Yes.
But round two is just the iconic stuff with the immaculate interception jersey, the actual football, which is
right
back
there.
here. It's a Cardinals football, of course, because he intercepted it and he kept the ball, and it's branded Cardinals. But he had a jersey against the Baltimore Ravens. I didn't realize this, where he had 3.5 sacks, like 13 tackles, a fumble recovery. I think he had an interception. I mean,
his finest game.
Yeah,
it has to be.
It may have been the finest defensive game of all time.
Yes.
And I mean, of course, there's great wear to it, but he did such a good job of keeping his, important memorabilia and preserving it really well. And just a really cool collection. It's not just Steelers stuff. There's Patriots. It's Patriots ring. It's Patriots Super Bowl jersey.
Ryan Fire.
Yes.
So he was undrafted. I didn't realize that until we started handling his material. I was like, he must have been like a second-round pick or something.
Yeah, you would think. Defensive
Player of the Year. Huge player in the Super Bowl. But yeah, he was undrafted. He played in the NFL Europe. He's got his it's cool. It's his Ryan Fire game-worn helmet. And it's on a stand, like a presentational thing. Yep. Cool piece from the very beginning of inauspicious start of his career.
Yeah, I mean, he was a special teams guy, and then he just couldn't stick on the roster. Came back the next year, and then finally, I think it was Joey Porter
spit on somebody,
got thrown out pregame, and that gave him his start. And then he, I guess, became James Harrison. But one of the cool things about his collection is, when they go to Pro Bowls, guys trade helmets. So we've got some of his DeMarco Ryan.
Yes.
We've got his game use helmet. We have
Troy Polamalu.
Yeah. What he also did. So we have some of the Pro Bowl helmets from, Pro Bowls, but we also have helmets from the defensive players on some of those Steelers teams. So there's a Troy Polamalu Super Bowl helmet, Casey Hampton helmet. So some of these, which, and the Steelers were really, really tough with their stuff. They didn't put a lot out. So he literally, after the season, got his teammates' helmets and kept them, preserved them. Absolutely. And Troy Polamalu is one of the most popular players of his era. And there's not much of his game-worn stuff out there. And I think it was like at 27,000 when I looked, but just really cool. Not just Harrison stuff, some of his teammates, some of his Pro Bowl teammates, kind of something for everyone.
Yeah.
It's just and he's a great guy, and he will be a Hall of Famer at some point.
Yeah.
I think that's been established.
He should get there at the first chance.
Absolutely. His story is so good. And
him playing for the Steelers was so perfect.
Absolutely.
He just fits that genre and their whole aesthetic of no nonsense, hard hitting, brutal defenses, and he fit the mold.
And to this day, he's still intimidated. I mean, my goodness, he works out 4 or 5 hours.
He could play.
100% he could play. I mean, he works out 4 or 5 hours a day, every single day. Even
like
now,
you, right, Tony?
Not quite. Divide that by about 8, and then you'd probably get my workout regimen.
But yeah, he was a lot of fun. He's willing to tell it like it is. For sure, he's exactly what you'd want a linebacker like that to be. And it's incredible material coming from his collection. That's going to be closing tomorrow night. A lot of great gamers. All of them worn multiple games. I like that there's a jersey that they matched it to 5 regular season games, the Super Bowl, and Media Day. So most people in Media Day are wearing like a fresh out of the box
Absolutely,
jersey,
they do. Yes.
And he's wearing this just battered jersey with team repairs and wear all over it, and that just fits his aesthetic.
Would you expect
perfectly.
anything else?
No, of course
James
not.
Harrison.
Love
Yeah,
that.
I love that. Yeah.
So great collection tomorrow. Plenty of material, over 1,000 items closing tomorrow night in session 2. Everything you want. Cards, sets, wax, every possible variety of memorabilia. And check it out at ha.com. Extended bidding, you have all night to bid, all day tomorrow. Extended bidding for session 2 goes at 10 p.m. Central Time tomorrow. Tony, we got any more big hits on the big board?
Yeah, 440,000 for the Joe DiMaggio 1948 jersey. The Babe Ruth, 340,000.
Wow.
So
Inching
just
up on that photo record.
Yeah. Let's see. Kansas City Chiefs ring, 40,000. Magic Bird ticket, 24. The DiMaggio seal. So somebody must be after both of those jerseys.
Go get them.
110,000. So as you can tell, a lot of six-figure pieces in this sale. And of course, we thank our consigners and our bidders for doing such a wonderful job. And
thank you to everyone who watched. As always, we have a lot of fun doing this. You'll see us on Instagram Live this week. We'll talk about some of the results and what we have upcoming. Thank you, of course, to our consigners and bidders. We can't do it without you. You're the best clients in the world. Thank you as well to Joe Orlando, who joined us earlier and dropped a bunch of
professor.
knowledge.
We should give him a name. He's like the professor.
The young professor.
Yeah, he is kind of a young professor, true.
And thank you to our operations team, the best in the business, who handles all the material and treats every single item like a seven-figure item. They work miracles daily. And then we'll thank the staff of almost 24 now who help us put on this show. They're all behind the cameras, setting it up.
And he did a wonderful job. No, this was a rookie, by the way, who did a fantastic job
right here.
That's, yeah.
So thank you for joining us. Tony, how can people get in touch with you?
Tony G at ha.com, 214-409-1997. We got shows coming up in Chicago, Dallas Card Show. So right now we're kind of getting towards our deadline and for our spring catalog sale, but we'll be getting out there and meeting with our favorite people.
Indeed. Everyone, good luck in the auction, and we'll talk to you next week.
That is an extraordinary, if you're a Steeler fan, if you're a football fan, that is one of the most extraordinary pieces you can own. So I sort of wonder, is that, as an outsider, I'm like, holy crap, I'd love to have that, even as a Cowboys fan.
That's all right. Everybody got their faults.
I know.
It's okay.
But for you, is that an easy decision or a difficult one?
A lot of the things I kept were things that they decided or my manager decided were something that they wanted to actually keep. There's a few other things that I kept that were sentimental to me because it was stuff that I had done or like accomplished after my father had passed. So there was some things, like a ball, whatever it may be, that I wanted to keep then.
Right.
Other than that, and even then at that time, I was just like, you know what? I just want to get rid of everything. And just going through the process of trying to decide what was what. It was like, can't get rid of this.
So when you're going through this, and it is an extraordinary collection, because it's your stuff, it's a few people you played with, a few people you knew, it goes back to Kent State, it certainly, it tells your life story. When you're going through it, do you reflect on the accomplishments while you're packing it up and Derek and Tony come to get it? Or are you, because you're not a sentimentalist, are you also not a nostalgist? Do you not look back on those stories? You lived them. Hey, I don't need to. I'm not packing this up.
Yeah.
And my whole life is flashing.
Right. It's not. It can't go before my eyes. It's mine.
Right.
Like you said, I could go back and look at a game with me in that jersey of 10 tackles, 3.5 sacks, a couple picks, all that other stuff.
Right.
And just because the jersey isn't there, it doesn't take away the accomplishment.